Chapter 17:28. Oh, are there little girls to play with? No, you can't play with little girls. Li Jianqian poured a glass of juice for himself and then poured some for Li Jianyue. Why are you so perverted? You actually asked your brother to play with little girls. I'm not perverted. Li Jianyue took the juice, her chubby little face filled with anxiety. With a little girl like me to play with, I'm sure he won't be bored. After all, I'm so cute. I'm a little princess. Li Jianqian looked disgusted. A little girl like you is too annoying. I don't want to play with you. Li Jianyue was angry. Her little face puffed up as she said, How can you say that, brother? It's too impolite. Do you know what impolite means? It means impolite. Wrong. Li Jianqian threw a look of disdain at Li Jianyue. Who taught you that? Li Jianyue was unconvinced. She put her hands on her waist and said, Brother, you're lying. If that's not what it means, then what does it mean? Impolite means losing etiquette. Etiquette is etiquette, and politeness is politeness. Politeness is a basic quality, and etiquette is a personal accomplishment. It's not the same. Li Jianyue didn't understand that. When she heard what Li Jianqian said, she was confused. She looked at Li Jianqian with wide eyes and asked, Brother, did Grandpa and Grandma teach you this too? Li Jianqian nodded and said, Grandma knows a lot. Grandma can also dance, play the piano, and sing. Grandpa taught me archery and horse riding. Wah! Li Jianyue's eyes lit up. Brother can even ride a horse in the capital. Yeah, it's a pony. Grandpa specially bought it for me. He keeps it at the back of the yard. I often ride a horse there. Sometimes the brother next door comes back to play with me. We shoot together, swim together, run together, and compete in other things. It was rare for Li Jianqian to speak so much in one breath. Li Xiqing also looked over. However, the little fellow didn't realize that his father was looking at him. He happily shared his life in the capital with his sister and continued, It's not just about these competitions. We also compete in academic results. During the exam, if I'm not the first, then he's the first. He's very good. Wow, brother, what brother are you talking about? A brother older than brother? Yes, 2 years older than me. Is that older brother also in the 3rd grade? Yes. Li Jianqian nodded, and there was some pride in his eyes. I am the youngest in our class. I think I can skip a grade next year, Dad. As he spoke, he looked at Li Xiqing. I want to skip a grade. No. Li Xiqing's words stopped all his thoughts. Li Jianqian was a little surprised. At the same time, he was a little unwilling and asked, Why? You can study, but you can't skip grades. You're the youngest in your class, but what about your height? Li Jianqian said matter-of-factly, Of course, he's the youngest. How's your relationship with your classmates? Li Jianqian choked on his words. He thought for a moment and said, It's fine as long as I have fun with Chu. Why don't the other students play with you? Chapter 17:29. Then will those who are taller than you bully you? They won't have the chance because Chu and I are good friends. Li Jianqian looked at Li Xiqing and enunciated each word clearly. Many people in the class admire Chu, and so do I. I am admired by many people. Yes or no? Li Jianqian was even more indignant and exclaimed, Why? When you can protect yourself, I will allow you to skip a grade. When Li Jianqian heard this, he panicked and shouted, Dad, I can protect myself. No one in the class can beat me. What's the point of bullying a child? Li Xiqing's eyes were full of disdain. I'm a child too. Li Jianqian said confidently. You treat yourself as a child, which proves that you are not mature enough. I won't allow it. Li Jianqian was furious. Dad, you are being unreasonable. Do you know what it means to be unreasonable? When Li Jianqian heard this, he knew that Li Xiqing was setting him up again. Panting with rage, he crossed his arms and turned his head away, not saying a word. Li Jianyue propped her hands on the table and looked at her brother and father with her big round eyes. She said, Why can't I skip a grade, Dad? Didn't brother already skip a grade? Yeah, it's because he just skipped a grade, so I won't allow it, Li Xiqing said softly. Everyone needs a process to grow up. You can't stand that they are more childish than you, so you want to skip a grade. Li Jianqian was stunned. These words were indeed true. But he clearly didn't say a word just now. How did Dad know? Li Xiqing knew from his expression and continued. But have you thought about it? If you can't even stand them, how are you going to stand those 5th and 6th graders who are more difficult to deal with than 3rd graders? Are they difficult to deal with? The age of 5th and 6th grade, until the age of 15 or 16, is the age when it is the easiest to be arrogant. It is also the easiest to be blinded by your own thoughts and do something incomprehensible. And you obviously haven't reached that stage. You can't protect yourself. Li Jianqian still didn't quite understand, but he could hear the meaning between the lines. In short, he was doing it for his own good. Li Jianyue still didn't understand. Daddy, does inflating one's ego mean getting fat from eating? Well, you can think of it that way. Oh. Li Jianyue nodded her head. Then she giggled and said, Our teacher said that I've gained weight yesterday. Actually, she was saying that I'm arrogant, right? She laughed out loud, but he looked calm and shook his head. You should lose weight. You can only eat 1 drumstick a day in the future. The smile on Li Jianyue's face fell. She immediately pouted and said, Daddy. Li Xiqing did not look at her and turned his head. Li Jianqian, on the other hand, was not too happy. He said gloomily, Chu is going to skip a grade. I want to skip with him. No. Li Xiqing's voice was calm but firm. Li Jianyue realized that pouting was useless, so she stopped. She turned to look at her brother and asked, Brother, is Brother Chu very powerful? Yes, Chu said that when he grows up, he wants to be a soldier. Chapter 1730. No, Uncle is in the army. Chu said that he wants to be a special forces soldier and a sniper when he grows up. Li Jianrui's eyes lit up. Snipers shoot from the rooftop, right? I know. Great-grandfather told me that snipers are very powerful. They can shoot through a poplar tree within 100 steps. They can also shoot birds on the ground and fish in the water. I heard that they can even survive in the wild. They are very powerful. Xueqi couldn't help but smile as she watched her chubby daughter dance. Li Jianqian replied, That's called shooting through a poplar tree. And why would a sniper shoot birds? No one's shooting range is that far. Why would a sniper catch fish? Are you sure it was great-grandfather who told you that? Li Jianrui blinked and thought for a moment before saying, I don't know. Humph. Snipers don't shoot birds from the rooftop. They can stand very far away to shoot and control a bad guy. Not just from the rooftop, they can also be in the trees or in the mountains. The Special Forces soldiers are the most elite and the most outstanding among the soldiers who protect the country. Li Jianqian's face was full of yearning. As he spoke, he didn't forget to look at Li Xiqing. Li Jianqian was looking forward to his reaction. Xueqi, who had been listening to her son, could see it. Naturally, Li Xiqing could see it too. Li Xiqing glanced at his son and didn't respond. Li Jianqian felt a little uneasy and said, Dad, can I be a soldier when I grow up? Be a soldier? Of course you can. If Li Xiao or Captain Li heard this, they would probably go crazy with joy. Even in their dreams, they wanted their sons to join the army. But Li Jinan had retired early. What was even worse was that Li Xiqing had never even been in the army. The 2 old guys were always saying, Men of the Li family, men of the Li family. When Li Xiqing heard this, he nodded slightly and said, Yes, but you have to change your bad habits first. What bad habits do I have? You don't realize that you have a bad habit. That is a bad habit. Li Xiqing pressed on the top of his head. Today is your uncle's wedding. When we get home, I'll analyze why I said you have a bad habit. Li Jianqian was still looking forward to it, but he was a little disappointed when he heard that. In the end, his gaze fell on the huge wedding photo in the distance. So pretty. Yi Yuyu was dozing off in the bridal room. She was clutching a bouquet of flowers as the makeup artist touched up her makeup. The sister legion was powerful, but they had also gone out to greet the guests. Yi Qianqian looked at Yi Yuyu from inside. It was really inconvenient to get married while pregnant. While everyone else was busy, Yi Yuyu was secretly dozing off. In front of her, there would definitely be people criticizing the bride for not going to greet the guests. If this became a topic of gossip, she would probably suffer in her husband's family in the future. It's ready. The guests are almost all here. It's almost time. Is the bride ready? When Yi Qianqian heard that, she quickly went forward to pull Yi Yuyu up and said, "Oh, my dear bride. This is the only wedding you'll ever have in your life. You should cherish it. Hurry up. Everyone's waiting for you outside." Chapter 1731. Everything was under Li Jinnan's control. As long as nothing happened to her, everything would be fine. Those were Li Jinnan's exact words. Yi Yuyu's heart was bursting with security. After stretching, she slowly walked out. Many people had been invited to the wedding. Sacred music was playing. Surrounded by beautiful women, Yi Yuyu slowly walked the red carpet. Li Jinnan looked at her from afar, and the corners of his lips slowly turned up. Yi Yuyu's figure was voluptuous. Her head was covered with a romantic white veil. Everyone around her was looking at her with envy. Li Jinnan had given her everything she had never enjoyed before. She was happier than anyone else. Yi Qianqian saw Yi Yuyu's blissful expression in the crowd. Her expression was a little complicated. Suddenly, she felt a warmth around her waist, and it tightened. Yi Qianqian jumped in fright. She looked back and saw Shen Jilia's face. Shen Jilia leaned over and pulled her into his arms. He looked at Yi Yuyu and said, "God is fair." Yi Qianqian's emotions calmed down. She turned to look at the happy newlyweds. Yes, the heavens are fair. The amount of suffering one can endure determines the amount of happiness one can receive. Yi Yuyu is worth it. When Shen Jilia saw that she didn't speak, he hugged her even tighter and whispered, "Are you tired?" Yi Qianqian leaned into his embrace and held his hand with both hands. She gently shook her head. "I'm just hungry. Let's go get something to eat. They haven't said their vows yet. I'm not going. Let's wait a while." Shen Jilia and Yi Qianqian didn't move much, but the people around them couldn't help but look over. Yi Qianqian blushed under the stares. She squeezed Shen Jilia's hand. "Let go. They're all looking at us. Let them look. It's fine." Shen Jilia didn't let go. Instead, he picked her up. "The air conditioner is too low. I'm cold." "You're shameless." Yi Qianqian felt too embarrassed to face anyone. She lowered her head. "Aren't you embarrassed? Why is it embarrassing for me to hug my own woman?" Shen Jilia buried his face in the crook of her neck. "Don't be afraid. It's not like you're hugging someone else's wife." "That won't do." "What if I change boyfriends in the future? That would be terrible." Shen Jilia tightened his grip and said in a low voice, "You're so fickle. Do you think I won't bite you?" "Bah! Go ahead and bite me." Yi Qianqian didn't believe that the man could be so thick-skinned in front of everyone in the hall. The corners of Shen Jilia's lips curled up, and he nibbled on her ear. Yi Qianqian exclaimed in surprise. Her exclamation attracted everyone's attention. When she felt the gazes of everyone around her, she was so embarrassed that she wanted to dig a hole in the ground. She gave Shen Jilia a hard shove and immediately turned to leave. Shen Jilia hurriedly followed her, but Yi Qianqian disappeared into the crowd in no time. Shen Jilia smiled. He was actually quite pleased with himself. "You want to change boyfriends? No way. I'm willing." When Yi Yuyu finished speaking, the crowd erupted in cheers. "Kiss me, kiss me, kiss me." The cheers made the atmosphere so heated that it was easy to empathize with them. Shen Jilia looked up and couldn't help but sigh. He muttered to himself, "How blissful." "You're almost there too," a female voice said. Shen Jilia turned his head. It was Feng Tong Tong. Feng Tong Tong giggled and leaned over. "Where's Qianqian?" "She ran away." "Ha ha ha. Why did she run away?" "You must have done something wrong. But aren't you guys almost there too?" Chapter 1732. When Feng Tong Tong saw Shen Jilia's expression, she understood and asked, "Qianqian doesn't want to marry you?" Shen Jilia wasn't surprised that she knew. Feng Tong Tong was Yi Qianqian's best friend. The two of them had grown up wearing the same pair of pants, so they would definitely share their feelings. Shen Jilia spread his hands. "She's not ready yet." "What?" Fong Tong Tong snorted. What do you mean she's not ready? I know this girl too well. She's still playful. You're her first boyfriend, so she'll definitely want to date a few more. But that's only human nature, don't you think? Fong Tong Tong snorted. Shen Jilia was speechless. Fong Tong Tong stepped forward and grabbed his hand as if her heart was aching for him. She patted it and said, My Qianqian has a straightforward personality. You have to be more tolerant of her. Since she doesn't want to, you can just wait. Ha ha ha. Shen Jilia was speechless. He quietly retracted his hand. Okay. I'm going to the bathroom. Fong Tong Tong pursed her lips and didn't say anything. She looked at Shen Jilia's tall and straight back and felt a little regretful. How could such an outstanding man be picked up by that girl Yi Qianqian? After Yi Qianqian emerged from the crowd, she went to the bathroom. When she came out, she happened to bump into Fong Tong Tong. When Fong Tong Tong saw her, she seemed a little surprised and said, So you're here. Your boyfriend is looking for you. Ignore him. Yi Qianqian yawned. I'm so sleepy. I woke up too early. Oh. Did you guys quarrel? No. Why do you ask? Nothing. Ha ha ha. Then why are you ignoring him? Forget it. I'm going to the bathroom. Fong Tong Tong hugged her stomach and headed for the bathroom. Yi Qianqian didn't mind. When she walked out, she saw Xueqi. Xueqi's stomach looked a little big. Li Xiqing was beside her. They chatted and smiled. He was handsome and she was beautiful. Yi Qianqian was envious. They were a natural match. When she saw Yi Qianqian, Xueqi waved at her. Yi Qianqian smiled back as a greeting. It couldn't be helped. They weren't familiar. The main stage was Yi Yuyu and Li Jinnan. After Yi Qianqian finished her meal, she was exhausted. Shen Jilia could tell that and said, Let's go back first. You woke up so early in the morning. Don't tire yourself out. Yi Qianqian was full. She leaned on Shen Jilia and yawned. Yeah. But today is my sister's wedding. Your sister is getting married. Not you. Your sister has already left. I'll go take a look. I don't think I need your help anymore. If you don't need it, we'll leave. Okay, then I'll go to the bathroom. Again. Didn't you just go there? Maybe my kidneys are weak. Yi Qianqian laughed to herself. She got up and headed to the bathroom. Shen Jilia didn't know what to say. He looked at it for a moment, and after confirming that there was nothing he could do to help, he bade farewell to Li Jinnan and left. After Yi Qianqian went to the bathroom, she sent a message to Fong Tong Tong. The gist of it was that she was leaving first and that Fong Tong Tong should be careful. However, Fong Tong Tong sent him a few question marks the moment he sent it. Tong Tong of the 900 million maiden dreams. Ah. I was planning to stay at your place tonight. You're going back now? Xueqi. Yeah, my dad is going back to Yun Town later. You can go with him. Tong Tong of the 900 million maiden dreams. I'm going to play in Kingstown for a few days. Bring me along. If I don't stay with you, I'll have to stay in a hotel. Chapter 1733. Tong Tong. I remember you have an empty room at your place. Hee hee, it's mine for the next few days. She didn't really want Fong Tong Tong to move in. After all, they were a couple. It would be inconvenient for a single girl to suddenly move in. But since Fong Tong Tong had already said so, Yi Qianqian couldn't refuse. Xueqi. Fine. Where are you? I'll wait for you at the entrance of the hotel. Tong Tong with 900 million maiden dreams. Occasion Jilia had driven there himself. He picked up the two girls from his car and drove in the direction of his home. Once Fong Tong Tong got into the car, she lay down in the back seat and wailed, I'm so tired. Oh my God. I'll probably be even more tired when you get married. Ah. When Shen Jilia heard that, he glanced at her through the rearview mirror and frowned. Yi Qianqian leaned against the side and chuckled when she heard that. You won't die of exhaustion. When you find a partner, I'll be as tired as you unless you're not getting married. That won't do. I have to get married. Sigh, I just don't have a partner. Fong Tong Tong scratched her head. Oh Shen, do you have any outstanding young men around you? Introduce them to me. I do have outstanding ones, but there aren't many unmarried doctors at our age. Are all the people you know doctors? Yes, colleagues. Do you have any other types? Doctors seem to be too busy. They don't stay at home all day and are often busy with surgeries. Yi Qianqian laughed out loud. You're overthinking things. This guy only knows psychiatrists, pharmacologists, and scientists. Psychiatrists have nothing to do all day. He has nothing to do all day, so he just hangs around. Feng Tongtong nodded. That's fine. Okay. I'll keep an eye out for you later, Xinjilia replied casually. He stared ahead and drove steadily. Yi Qianqian could tell that Xinjilia wasn't in a good mood. She glanced at him and asked, Are you in a bad mood? No, I'm just thinking about some things, Xinjilia replied without looking at Yi Qianqian. Yi Qianqian felt a little strange. Xinjilia rarely acted like this. A pair of eyes stared straight at him. Xinjilia seemed to feel it too. He looked over and raised his eyebrows slightly. Yi Qianqian looked away in disgust and closed her eyes. By the time he got home, Yi Qianqian had already slept for quite some time. Feng Tongtong woke her up with a roar. We're home. Yi Qianqian was shocked and looked around. Xinjilia frowned in displeasure. Why are you bothering her? Feng Tongtong stuck out her tongue. You'll spoil her like this. You'll be the one to suffer in the future. Xinjilia went to the front passenger seat to open the door and let Yi Qianqian in. When she heard Feng Tongtong's words, she pursed her lips and said, It's best if I'm the one who suffers. When Feng Tongtong heard that, she couldn't take it anymore. She clutched her chest and said, Oh my God! You're such a great boyfriend. Qianqian, you better cherish him. Yi Qianqian was so sleepy that she couldn't open her eyes. When she heard Feng Tongtong's loud voice, she also looked sleepy. I'm sleepy. Xinjilia supported her as they walked inside. Yi Qianqian stumbled as she walked. Xinjilia picked her up and pressed the elevator button. TSK. You're so strong. Did Xin train before? He likes to work out when he's free. He's very strong. Yi Qianqian leaned against him without a hint of guilt. Chapter 1734. Xinjilia's lips tightened. He quickly walked into the elevator and went in first. Which floor? Feng Tongtong walked in and reached out to press the doorbell. Xinjilia didn't say a word. He pressed the button and went up. His expression didn't look too good, and he didn't say a word. He held Yi Qianqian in his arms and stared at the reflective surface of the elevator door. Yi Qianqian wasn't the only one. Even Feng Tongtong could tell that the man was a little unhappy. Could it be because of what I said before? Feng Tongtong felt that it was very possible. She glanced at Xinjilia and felt guilty. Yi Qianqian could clearly sense Feng Tongtong's expression. She pursed her lips and narrowed her eyes, pretending not to see anything. Ding! The elevator arrived at the station. Xinjilia carried Yi Qianqian out first, and Feng Tongtong naturally lagged behind. After Yi Qianqian was put down, Xinjilia opened the door, turned on the lights and walked in. Yi Qianqian turned her head and said, Come in. Feng Tongtong stuck out her tongue and quickly caught up to her. She whispered, Is your boyfriend unhappy? Looks like it. He might be in a bad mood. Why? Who knows? It's always like this. It's always strange. Feng Tongtong looked a little uneasy and said, It can't be because of me, can it? Does he not welcome me staying at your place? Why don't I find a hotel to sleep in? Yi Qianqian's expression didn't look too good. She angrily said, Why would you find a hotel? Just sleep here. He's not such a petty person. There must be something else. It's not because of you. Come in. Feng Tongtong shook her head. Forget it. I'd better leave. Feng Tongtong. Yi Qianqian was furious. She reached out and pulled her in before closing the door. Feng Tongtong was pulled in. The first thing she did was look for Xinjilia. Where is he? Yi Qianqian didn't notice that she was looking for him. She asked, Are you taking a shower? I didn't bring any clothes. Do you have any? Feng Tongtong was still wearing her bridesmaid's outfit. It was a pretty little gauze gown with silicone patches underneath. It was a last-minute decision to stay in Kingstown, so there was no change of clothes. I do, but I've worn them all before. I don't have any new underwear. Yi Qianqian glanced at her. I can get you a set of pajamas. It doesn't matter. It's not like I didn't wash it. Just wear it again. No, I have a boyfriend. You can wear pajamas, but not underwear. Yi Qianqian had always been straightforward, so Feng Tongtong immediately understood what she meant. She nodded her head and didn't say anything. When Yi Qianqian walked into her room, she immediately saw Shen Jielia standing by the window. When Yi Qianqian saw Shen Jielia, she couldn't help but feel angry. Yi Qianqian closed the door and walked up to him. She placed her hand on his shoulder and asked, "What's the meaning of this?" My best friend is staying at our place for a few days. Why are you giving her such a dirty look? Shen Jielia turned around and looked at Yi Qianqian's obviously unhappy face. He pursed his lips and said, I think that your best friend doesn't know how to conduct herself. How could she just stay at someone else's place like that? Even if you're her best friend, you have no boundaries at all. More importantly, she had pretended not to know anything about what she had said to him in the hotel. This made Shen Jielia feel a little disgusted. He was a psychologist, so he could vaguely guess what Feng Tongtong was thinking. Chapter 1735. Based on normal human psychology, Feng Tongtong's expression was one of extreme envy toward Yi Qianqian. While she was envious of Yi Qianqian, she also had an indescribable admiration for Shen Jielia. Under such circumstances, she had decided to move in at the last minute. How much of it was really just to have fun? Shen Jielia didn't want to speculate about others with ill intentions, but based on the current situation, it was difficult for him to have a good impression of Feng Tongtong. Yi Qianqian didn't know what Shen Jielia was thinking. When she heard what he said, she laughed and said, It's because we have a good relationship. We grew up wearing the same pair of pants. It's not a big deal to just have fun. However, this last-minute decision was indeed a little sudden. I'll reprimand her later, but since she's already here, we can't just chase her away, can we? Shen Jielia pursed his lips and didn't say a word. Yi Qianqian gently pushed him and said, No matter what, she's my best friend. You should at least give her some face. It's not good to be a bad person just because you want to be. Shen Jielia looked at Yi Qianqian's face and sighed softly. He reached out and touched her cheek. All right then. When can she leave? With her here, we can't have a world of just the two of us. A world of just the two of us. Yi Qianqian used to think that those words were a symbol of happiness, but now that she heard them come out of Shen Jilia's mouth, why do they sound so dirty? Her cheeks turned red. She glared at him and said, I knew you weren't such a petty person. So that's what you were worried about. Shen Jilia raised his eyebrows slightly and didn't comment. I don't think she'll stay for long. She still has a shop to look after. Her mother won't help her. Don't worry. Shen Jilia's heart calmed down. He lowered his head and kissed her lips gently. That's good. Yi Qianqian instinctively turned to look, but Shen Jilia immediately hugged her and kissed her lips again, deepening the kiss. It had been a few days. Yi Qianqian had been accompanying Yi Yuyu to her wedding. Li Jinan couldn't see Yi Yuyu, and Shen Jilia couldn't see Yi Qianqian either. Only God knew how he had survived the past few days. Now that there was an uninvited guest in the house, he would have to behave himself for a few more days. Yi Qianqian missed him dearly too. She hugged him and responded gently, but she didn't forget to glance at the door. Yi Qianqian did not close the door. She was afraid that Feng Tongtong would see them. It would be a sin to hurt Feng Tongtong, who was single. Shen Jilia immediately saw through her intentions. He turned her around in his arms and pinned her down on the bed. Yi Qianqian resisted and pushed him away. Qianqian, aren't you looking for clothes for me? Haven't you found it yet? Feng Tongtong's loud voice could be heard, and it was getting closer and closer. Yi Qianqian struggled even harder, and Shen Jilia released her. Yi Qianqian immediately wiped her mouth and shouted, I'm coming! Feng Tongtong walked in and immediately saw Shen Jilia standing by the bed. His clothes were a little disheveled. Yi Qianqian, on the other hand, was rummaging through her wardrobe. After searching for something, she said, There's a new one. I haven't worn this before. As he spoke, he stuffed it into Fang Tongtong's hand and slowly pushed her out. Chapter 1736. Bah! What can I do? You're the only one who's full of drama. Yi Qianqian pushed her away and said in a low voice, Don't come into our room for no reason in the future. He doesn't like it. Fang Tongtong understood, but she was still a little unhappy. She said, Isn't this your apartment? Your boyfriend is only staying here temporarily, right? What do you mean, mine or his? We live together, so it's ours. Yi Qianqian disagreed. His car is still his. I'm still sitting in it. How can that be the same? It's basic for a man to have a car and a house. Your boyfriend doesn't have a house and is still living here. I want to go in, but you don't let me. Why? Fang Tongtong's voice wasn't loud. Only Yi Qianqian and Fang Tongtong could hear her. Don't tell me you're planning to use this as a marital home? That won't do. I'll be the first to disagree. Yeah. That's impossible. I don't want to get married yet. What's the rush? Aren't you going to take a shower? Hurry up. Fang Tongtong clutched the underwear in her hand and asked, Where are my pajamas? I don't have any. Wait here. Yi Qianqian turned around and dashed into the room. He rummaged through the wardrobe and took out a set of pajamas that she didn't usually wear and said, Here. So ugly. Did you buy it? The aesthetics of a straight man. Old Shen bought it. I don't really wear it, so you can put up with it for now. Tomorrow after work, we'll go shopping and buy a few more sets. All right then. That's the aesthetic of a straight man. Fang Tongtong took it and quickly entered the bathroom. However, he held the pajamas that Yi Qianqian had just handed to him with both hands and compared them in the mirror. It seemed not bad. Yi Qianqian finally finished serving Fang Tongtong and returned to her room to remove her makeup. Shen Jilia was sitting on the edge of the bed with a cell phone in his hand. It looked like he was chatting on WeChat. Yi Qianqian glanced at him and casually asked, Are you busy at work? More or less. Shen Jilia looked down at his phone and typed. Still working? No, I'm chatting with Luo Ran. Shen Jilia switched off the screen. Is she taking a shower? Yes. I'll go pack up the gym equipment. You can ask her to sleep there later. Shen Jilia stood up and went to his room. Ever since Shen Jilia and Yi Qianqian shared the same room, Shen Jilia had converted the guest bedroom into a mini-gym. The tools were a little crude, but they had everything a man needed to train his muscles. There were still a lot of things. When Shen Jilia walked in and picked up his phone again, he saw that Luo Ran had replied to a few voice messages. Luo Ran's voice came through. I think you're thinking too much. If you don't like that girl, just stay away from her. But she's your girlfriend's best friend, so don't make things too awkward. Besides, isn't this a good thing for you? You can show off your skills in front of your best friend. Didn't you say that your girlfriend didn't want to marry you? Have you heard of this saying? If you want to settle a woman, you have to settle her best friend first. Look, once your best friend is settled, all you have to do is get some air and everything will be settled. You're so wary of a girl and you're still acting like a bad guy. Who wouldn't have a problem with that? You can't play like this. No matter what, you should build a good relationship with her. Chapter 1737. Luo Ran sent a series of voice messages, and Shen Jilia felt that it made sense. When it came to this matter, Luo Ran was the expert. In the capital, Luo Ran was also a well-known relationship expert and friend of women. After thinking about it, Shen Jilia replied, Well, it takes two hands to clap. Luo Ran replied, Isn't it over? If you serve the girl well, are you afraid that you can't handle your girlfriend? Shen Jilia was convinced. At that moment, he felt that he was a little paranoid. He sent Luo Ran a goodbye message and began to exercise. These sports equipment were added during the time that Shen Jilia moved in. It wasn't a lot, but it wasn't a small amount either. After moving for about 10 minutes, he finally emptied the space near the bed. Qianqian, you can put the quilt that you washed previously. It's done, Shen Jilia said. At the same time, he heard the bathroom door open. Fong Tongtong's wet hair draped over her shoulders. Her thin pajamas were soaked, and Shenjilia could vaguely see something that he shouldn't have seen. Shenjilia was shocked. He immediately looked away and turned to enter his room. When he turned his head, he realized that she was wearing the pajamas that he had bought for Yi Qianqian. The silk pajamas were expensive. Moreover, the pajamas were chosen by his grandmother. Shenjilia had bought them after she sent him a picture. Why was Fong Tongtong wearing them now? Shenjilia frowned and couldn't help but turn his head to take another look. The light green silk pajamas had been left there for a while, and there were some creases on them. It was the set that his grandmother had chosen. Yi Qianqian saw it and tugged at Shenjilia. What are you looking at? When Fong Tongtong heard that, she also turned her head to look. Yi Qianqian saw the look on her face and said, Don't you know how to dry your hair? Here. She threw a dry towel at Fong Tongtong. Fong Tongtong took the towel and put it on her head. Shenjilia's lips tightened. He turned around and didn't say anything. After flipping through his clothes, Shenjilia quickly entered the bathroom. However, Fong Tongtong's clothes were hung in the place where they used to hang their clean clothes, and the dirty clothes basket was empty. Shenjilia's expression darkened. He picked up her clothes and threw them into the dirty clothes basket. But just as she picked up a dress, a strapless bra fell out. Looking at the cup size, it was a little bigger than Yi Qianqian's. No, double? Twice. Shenjilia stared at it blankly for a moment before using the dress as a cushion to toss it into the laundry basket. But halfway through, he changed his mind and threw it into the wash basin. The sound of running water could be heard from the bathroom. When Yi Qianqian heard it, she glared at Fong Tongtong and asked, Are you still wet? You didn't use a towel? No. I don't know which one is yours, so I didn't use it. Fong Tongtong appeared to be in a good mood. As she dried her hair, she said, But your house is pretty clean. I thought you'd make a mess out of it. Old Shen took care of it. Yi Qianqian was in a good mood. She replied, I'm getting lazier and lazier. Old Shen loves cleanliness. When he's free, he cleans up the room and cooks. Damn, you're too lucky. How did you manage to make him so obedient? The corners of Yi Qianqian's lips turned up. She couldn't hide the smile on her face as she said, Perhaps, he really likes me. Chapter 1738. Yi Qianqian knew that Fong Tongtong would say that. Ever since they got to know each other, Fong Tongtong seemed to be envious of her. Everyone had their vanity, especially in front of their best friend. Fong Tongtong had very high standards. Yi Qianqian was extremely pleased to receive such affirmation from her. The corners of his lips curled up as he said happily, You can also find a man who can give you happiness. Sigh. Fong Tongtong sighed. How can I be so lucky? Outstanding and devoted men are as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns these days. It's really not that easy to find one. You're lucky to have met old Shen. Someone like me might have to stay single for the rest of my life. Of course not. Don't be so pessimistic. It's fine as long as it's fated. Fong Tongtong sniffled. With an aggrieved look on her face, she said, I think I might really have to. People like me aren't good-looking, have high standards, and are incapable. You, Qianqian, sometimes I really envy you. You're pretty and capable. You're able to establish yourself in Kingstown and have a good income. You're amazing. Bah, you just haven't tried it yet. You can try it too. Yi Qianqian had always felt that it was a waste of Fong Tongtong's talent to hide in the tiny Yun town. When Fong Tongtong heard that, she smirked. Am I right? You think so too? Pretend I didn't say anything. Ha ha ha. But you really look like your sister. That Xia Yilin has been bad-mouthing you all day in town, saying that you're half-hearted and brought back so many men. It was only when your sister got married that she found out that the people she saw were actually your sister and brother-in-law. I'm dying of laughter. What a slap in the face. So, she really did see it. It's just that the person who saw it wasn't me. I get it. Aha, this rumor-mongering mouth should be punished. By the way, are you and your boyfriend going to work tomorrow? Where am I going to play alone? Are there any fun places in Kingstown? Oh! Yi Qianqian blinked her eyes. Didn't you want to come to Kingstown to play? I've already prepared a strategy for you. When do you get off work? 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Where's Shen? His working hours are more flexible. I don't know when he gets off work. Anyway, I can have dinner at home every day. Old Shen even knows how to cook. Wow, you're so lucky. Feng Tongtong's face was full of envy, jealousy, and hatred. This won't do. I must try old Shen's cooking tomorrow. Then I'll go play by myself tomorrow. When you get off work, let's go shopping after dinner, okay? Okay, sure. You sleep first. I'm going to take a shower. Yes. Go ahead. Feng Tongtong waved her hand and smiled like a blooming flower. After Yi Qianqian left, Feng Tongtong turned around and looked at the large mirror that Shen Jilia used when he worked out. His face was fair and tender with some baby fat. He looked younger than his actual age. Unlike Yi Qianqian's delicate features, she had a round and chubby baby face. Actually, he wasn't that bad looking. Why was her luck so good? But she was. Feng Tongtong had always felt that God was unfair. They were both hard-working, and she was obviously younger and more promising. However, the adults in town had never praised her. Feng Tongtong's heart sank bit by bit. She was in low spirits. She looked at the decorations around her. They were very masculine, and her heartbeat inexplicably quickened. Chapter 1739. Bah! This was Yi Qianqian's boyfriend. No matter what, she couldn't steal her best friend's boyfriend. Feng Tongtong slapped her face and shook her head forcefully. She took a deep breath and muttered to herself, "Wake up. You can play by yourself tomorrow. Go to sleep." With that, Feng Tongtong wrapped herself in the blanket and lay down. However, she couldn't help but open her eyes and look at her surroundings. It was a dark environment, and the surroundings were filled with heavy fitness equipment. Only a real man would truly like these cold and heavy things. She didn't expect Shen Jilia to be so manly despite his skinny appearance. Indeed, one couldn't judge a man by his appearance. Feng Tongtong closed her eyes, and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. After Yi Qianqian finished showering, she returned to her room. Shen Jilia was sitting in front of the computer with a large stack of documents. It looked like he was looking at medical records. Yi Qianqian walked over while drying her hair. She sat down on the bed and looked at the computer. "Are you still busy?" Shen Jilia turned around and looked at Yi Qianqian. He looked unhappy and said, "Why did you give that set of pajamas to your best friend?" Yi Qianqian was stunned for a moment and said, "Because she didn't bring any clothes. Out of all my clothes, that was the only set that I wore less, so that was picked out by my grandmother. No matter what, you shouldn't have given it to someone else to wear." Yi Qianqian frowned and was a little unhappy. "Isn't it just a set of pajamas? Why are you so stingy?" Shen Jilia's expression darkened. He said, "This set of pajamas has a different meaning. It's the first gift my grandmother gave you. No matter how much you dislike it, it's your business to keep it as a secret. But you gave it away just like that. If my grandmother found out, do you know what she would think?" His words were so serious that Yi Qianqian's expression darkened. She stopped drying her hair and said, "She's my best friend. She's my best friend since I was young. When I was at my poorest in school, if it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been able to attend university. I only had a set of pajamas, and I let her wear it. I didn't say I was giving it to her. At most, I'll buy her a set tomorrow. I'll take it home to wash and put it back." Shen Jilia's expression softened a little. He looked at Yi Qianqian and said, "I'll bring it back tomorrow. I don't like it when someone else wears that outfit." Yi Qianqian pouted and muttered, "You're so petty." "This isn't a matter of being stingy. I think it's a matter of principle. Yi Qianqian, this isn't just a matter of pajamas." Shen Jilia's tone was a little heavy. He looked at Yi Qianqian with disappointment. She placed her hands on her hips and retorted, "What kind of problem is that? It's just a small matter. You're a man. Why are you being so calculative? I already said that I'll get it back. What else do you want? These are the pajamas I gave you. You can give them away, but what about next time?" Shen Jilia gritted his teeth in anger. If she asks for something else next time, can you deliver it to her? Chapter 1740. Xueqi found it a little ridiculous and laughed. She didn't take any credit for the fact that I'm with you. Yi Qianqian was exasperated. She flung her hair towel and said, "You don't understand at all. Do you know why she's my best friend?" Xueqi raised his eyebrows and looked eager to hear more. When I was a freshman, my grandmother was in poor health. My father and grandfather took out all their savings to treat her. At that time, we had nothing at home. Half a semester had passed, and my father couldn't afford to pay for my living expenses. It was Feng Tongtong who provided for me. Xueqi was silent. At that time, I couldn't even afford to eat. I had to work part-time while attending school. I had to send some of the money back home. At that time, I was so hungry that I developed stomach problems. I couldn't take it anymore and almost dropped out of school. It was Tong Tong who gave me $200 to eat properly. In the second semester, she even lent me the money she earned from her part-time job to pay for my tuition. Yi Qianqian felt a little sad when she said that. She looked at Xueqi and continued, "If it weren't for Tong Tong, I would have dropped out of school. If I had dropped out of school, I wouldn't have found a job in Oya right after graduation. I wouldn't have met Lily, and I wouldn't have met you. So, it's all thanks to Tong Tong that we're together now." Xueqi was even more silent after listening to this series of karma. When Yi Qianqian saw his reaction, she continued, "Tong Tong is really good to me. I've always treated her as my best friend. All these years, she's been at home, and we've been apart more than together. I haven't had the chance to repay her. It's just a pair of pajamas. Don't be angry, okay?" Xueqi couldn't get angry even if he wanted to. He looked at Yi Qianqian and pursed his lips. "When you went to Venice, you brought a bunch of gifts for her, right?" "Yeah. Actually, I wanted to ask her to go with me on the trip to Venice. I didn't expect that I'd sprain my ankle, so I couldn't go. The ticket expired. Then why didn't she come to visit you when you injured your ankle?" "She was busy at the shop. How could she have the time to visit me? I told her not to." "So, she's not busy now?" Yi Qianqian immediately shut her mouth and was speechless. Xueqi sighed helplessly. "I've never believed in such things." "What?" "Fate. This is fate. Even if Feng Tongtong didn't help you back then, I believe that we would have met in other ways. But that's how things are now. Do you dare to say that this isn't Tongtong's credit?" "This is fate. This is fate. There's no such thing as a credit to anyone." Xueqi didn't think much of it. Everything that happens is destined. Don't dwell too much on the past. People change. She looked at Xueqi and said angrily, "Forget it. I'm going to blow dry my hair. I can't be bothered to talk to you." Xueqi didn't say another word. He turned off the computer and crawled under the covers. When Yi Qianqian came in, he hugged her. When Yi Qianqian felt his arms around her, she knew that he was up to no good again. He twisted his body and said softly, "There's someone else here. Don't mess around." Xueqi closed his eyes and wrapped his legs around her. Sleep. Yi Qianqian was exhausted and soon fell asleep. Death. Chapter 1741. The next day, Yi Qianqian returned home after a day of work, but old Shen was not home. Feng Tongtong was not home either. Yi Qianqian raced against time to finish her work, only to come home to an empty house. She called Xueqi. The moment the call connected, she heard voices coming from the other end of the line. "Hello. You're not back yet?" Yi Qianqian's voice carried a hint of coquettishness. "I thought I could have dinner when I got back." "Yeah, I have to work overtime today. There's a patient who isn't in good condition. I'm a little busy, so I forgot to tell you. Go out with your bestie to eat." "Oh, okay. Take care and come back early." "Okay." Yi Qianqian hung up the phone and called Feng Tongtong. Feng Tongtong was sitting leisurely in a cafe. When she received Yi Qianqian's call, she slowly picked it up. "Hi, Qianqian. Where are you?" "I'm at home." "Where are you?" "Old Shen is working overtime today, so he's not home." "I haven't eaten yet. I'm at Xingye Square. Come over. Let's go have hot pot. Hot pot? It's such a hot day. It's my treat. I'll be right there. Fong Tong Tong smiled and hung up the phone. She continued to browse the web on her phone. It was a guide to a short-term trip to Kingstown. Yi Qianqian and Fong Tong Tong had hot pot together. After that, they went shopping and bought a lot of clothes. In addition to all kinds of clothes, there were also pajamas. They didn't return home until after 10 p.m. Shen Jilia was reading some documents on the sofa in his pajamas. When he saw them return, he only glanced at them before he lowered his head and asked, "Have you eaten?" "Yes, we went to buy a lot of clothes." Yi Qianqian waved the shopping bag in her hand. "What did you eat tonight?" "I haven't eaten yet. Go take a shower. I'm a little busy." Shen Jilia looked at the documents with a frown. There have been a lot of women committing suicide recently. What's going on? Fong Tong Tong was a little curious. She placed the shopping bag on the sofa and sat down to look at Shen Jilia. Yi Qianqian glanced at him. After she closed the door, she asked, "How busy are you? You haven't eaten yet. Let me cook you a bowl of noodles." "Okay. Don't put cilantro in it." Yi Qianqian pursed her lips and headed into the kitchen. Fong Tong Tong asked curiously, "What did you mean by committing suicide?" "Oh, it's like this. This female patient is an elite returnee. She's an executive of a large company. She was pursued by a man during a business meeting. After the two of them fell in love, the man's wife suddenly appeared and beat her up. She called her a mistress and even scratched her car. She wrote a lot of nasty words on it. Oh, and then..." Fong Tong Tong was obsessed with all kinds of gossip. She rested her chin on her hands and looked at Shen Jilia seriously. Then, the woman went to the man to settle the score. When she was with the man, she didn't know that he had a wife. After they found each other, the man begged her not to break up with him. He promised that he would divorce his wife soon, but in the end, because his wife's family was rich and powerful, he couldn't bear to part with her, and the woman got pregnant. F***CK. That's so melodramatic. Fong Tong Tong was shocked. And then, after that, the wife of the first wife beat the woman up again and caused her to have a miscarriage. After the incident, she was fired from the company, and the man disappeared without a trace. It could be said that he had nothing left. He was even cursed by others. In the end, he couldn't take the pressure and committed suicide at home. He didn't die? Chapter 1742. Ha! What's your rank in your hospital? From his tone, it sounded like he was at a very high rank. Shen Jilia replied without even lifting his head. Department Director. D***MN. You're already a director at such a young age? D***MN. Fong Tong Tong looked like she was about to collapse. That can't be. Aren't directors usually in their 40s or 50s? You're such a young director. Are you serious? When Shen Jilia heard that, he chuckled and said, Didn't Qianqian tell you? Of course not. She didn't even say a word. Look at how well she hid you. She didn't even tell me about such a big thing. Sigh. Yi Qianqian had just put the noodles into the pot. When she heard that, she felt a little smug and said, I'll just keep it to myself. Why should I tell you? Will this patient be difficult to handle? A little. He's having a mental breakdown. Based on his recent situation, he's showing signs of schizophrenia. If he doesn't handle it properly, he might just go crazy. Shen Jilia was a little sympathetic. There are too many scumbags in this world. Exactly. There are too many scumbags. Fong Tong Tong was also indignant. If only all the men in this world were like you. You can't say that. If everyone was like me, how could they highlight my excellence? Shen Jilia did not hold back at all. Yi Qianqian heard him from inside and snorted. Shameless. Can't you be a little more humble? There's no use in being humble. The halo of a genius like me can't be suppressed just because I'm humble. Fong Tong Tong lifted her clothes. Hey, I don't even know how to respond to you like this. You should echo me and compliment me at a time like this, Shen Jilia kindly reminded her. If you're cheated by a scumbag in the future, you can come to our hospital. I'll give you an insider discount. Fong Tong Tong picked up an apple and threw it at him. Shut up. Shen Jilia dodged and casually caught the apple. He put it back and said with a smile, I was thinking too much. A tough scumbag like you wouldn't dare to provoke you. Fong Tong Tong became even angrier. Are you saying that I'm too manly to get married? Qianqian, don't you care about your man? Yi Qianqian came out with a bowl of noodles and placed it in front of Shen Jilia. She sat down beside him and said, What he said is the truth. You're so unfeminine. Isn't it normal that you can't get married? Husband and wife, you two are too hateful. Fong Tong Tong grabbed the bag of clothes and stood up. Then she headed to her room. I'm going to ignore you guys. However, as soon as he turned around, the smile on his face disappeared. They seemed to be a perfect match for each other. Fong Tong Tong headed straight for the bedroom. Shen Jilia's voice sounded from behind her. It smells so good. Haha. Isn't it fragrant? It's fine if I don't cook, but once I do, I'll amaze you to death. Shen Jilia sniffed the air and said with disdain, Just a few compliments, and you're getting all high and mighty. Bah, you dare to say it's not? Yes, yes. Fong Tong Tong closed the door. She felt upset. Looking at the gym full of fitness equipment in front of him, he slowly walked up. Over the next 2 days, Shen Jilia was as busy as a bee. Fong Tong Tong went to play on her own during the day. After Yi Qianqian got off work, the two of them went around together. Another night passed, and Shen Jilia still hadn't returned from working. Chapter 1743. She looked at the time. It was already past 10 p.m. After Yi Qianqian showered, she called Shen Jilia. The phone rang for a long time, but no one picked up. Fong Tong Tong was playing games on the sofa. When she saw Yi Qianqian like this, she said, Why are they so strict? He's not even married yet, and he's already like this. If he's married, it'll be terrible. When Yi Qianqian heard the teasing, she became even more impatient and said irritably, Old Shen hasn't been away for so long. In the past, he would call back to report that he's safe and sound. It's already so late, and there's no news at all. How can this be? Well, maybe he's busy. Don't worry too much. A man like old Shen wouldn't mess around outside. No. Yi Qianqian's heart beat faster. She subconsciously reached out to touch her chest and whispered, I keep feeling that something will happen to him. Don't think too much. Nothing will happen. Fong Tong Tong didn't mind. She paused the game and poured her a glass of water. Dry your hair. He'll be back in a while. Yi Qianqian took the glass, but she wasn't in the mood to drink it. She continued to call Shen Jilia. She called several times in a row, but no one picked up. Kingstown Huxin Hospital. Hurry up. What are you waiting for? Where's the patient? She's under control. We've given her a sedative for now, but she can't stay in our hospital in such a situation. Stay. Stay my ass. Director Shen is already like this. Who would dare to stay? Hurry up and give him a blood transfusion. The people in the psychology department were busy, rushing back and forth. Everyone looked like they were in a hurry. It was past 11 p.m. when the hustle and bustle slowly came to a stop. A doctor walked to the department director's office and found that Shen Jilia's phone had more than a dozen missed calls. The note on it was clear, future wife, love. When the doctor saw those words, he sighed, picked up the phone, turned around, and walked out. Yi Qianqian couldn't sleep. Shen Jilia had never been like this. It was like he had disappeared into thin air. After tossing and turning, she finally got upset. She got up and logged into Shen Jilia's WeChat account. The password for all of Shen Jilia's social media accounts was the same. After Yi Qianqian logged in without any trouble, she immediately found Luo Ran. He sent a question mark over, followed by 2 words. Are you there? Yi Qianqian thought that Luo Ran would be either clubbing or having sex at this hour, so he wouldn't be able to recover quickly. But who knew that there would be an instant reply? Luo Ran. Here, Luo Ran. Another problem? Yi Qianqian looked at the words and said in a voice message, I'm Shen Jilia's girlfriend, Yi Qianqian. It's already so late, and old Shen hasn't come back yet. I called him more than 20 times, but he didn't pick up. Do you know where he is? It was rare for Luo Ran to be a good boy at home, so he would watch a few comedies at home to relax. When he heard Yi Qianqian's voice, his heart skipped a beat. Tensing up, she straightened her back and typed a reply. This guy hasn't gone home yet? Is the phone in your hand now? Shen Jilia. No, I just logged into his WeChat to ask you. Luo Ran. Well, I don't know. I'm in the capital. Isn't he in Kingstown? Chapter 1744. Shen Jilia. Yeah, I think so too. Yi Qianqian had already changed her clothes. After putting on her shoes, she walked out. When Luo Ran saw her reply, he immediately felt that it was inappropriate. After thinking about it, he said, Why don't I ask him? Sister-in-law. Don't be nervous. This guy is good at fighting. He can easily take on two people at once. Don't worry. When Yi Qianqian heard that, she didn't feel at ease. She thought about the female patient he mentioned a few days ago who was likely to go crazy. What if that woman really went crazy? A madman doesn't need to bear legal responsibility for killing someone. The more Yi Qianqian thought about it, the more scared she became. She picked up her bag and opened the door. Feng Tongtong saw her and asked, Where are you going? I'm going to look for old Shen. Ah yeah, he's a man. What are you worried about? He just came back a little late. If you find him and he's fine, he might even say that you're too strict with him. Then it'll be awkward. Feng Tongtong stood up. If he's at a party, he'll definitely be laughed at by his friends. How will he face the world then? Yi Qianqian didn't stop in her tracks. At that moment, her phone suddenly vibrated. It was a phone call. The caller was Shen Jilia. Yi Qianqian quickly picked up the phone. Hello? Yeah. It was Shen Jilia's voice. Yi Qianqian breathed a sigh of relief and shouted anxiously, Where are you? Ah. Shen Jilia looked like he had just woken up from a dream and said, I got off work early today. My colleagues dragged me out for a drink. I got drunk, so I didn't answer the phone. Yi Qianqian had been worried for so long, but this was the answer she had been waiting for. She suddenly felt that her worries were unnecessary. Gritting her teeth, Yi Qianqian slammed the half-open door shut and said, I'll drink you to death. Where are you? I'll pick you up. There's no need. I'm resting at my colleague's house. Oh right. I have to go back to my hometown in the capital tomorrow. Something happened with my brother. I have to go back as soon as possible. Shen Luoan? Yeah. Shen Jilia replied faintly. His voice sounded a little weak. When Yi Qianqian heard that, she knew that he had drunk too much and wasn't in a good state. She was a little annoyed, but there was nothing she could do about it. She asked, What time is your flight tomorrow? I'll pack your luggage and send it over. Where's your colleague's house? It's fine. It's a male colleague. If you don't believe me, I'll let him answer the phone. As he spoke, there was a soft noise coming from the other end. No. She just wanted to see him. It had been a whole night, and her heart was still hanging in the air, feeling very uncomfortable. Yi Qianqian swallowed the words that were on the tip of her tongue. Sister-in-law, nice to meet you. I'm Zhou Dawei, Xiao Zhou. Mr. Shen had dinner at my house and we drank a little too much. It's late now and Mr. Shen is not in a good state. We have to catch a plane back to the capital tomorrow morning. It's better to rest at my place. Xiao Zhou sounded rather sober. Yi Qianqian was silent for a moment before asking, You didn't drink? Little Zhou seemed a little embarrassed. I've been suffering from gastric bleeding recently. My wife won't let me drink it, so I can only force other brothers to drink it. I'm sorry, sister-in-law, but I'll have to trouble you to stay alone tonight. I won't ask Chief Shin to come down again, I promise. Chapter 1745. All right. Xiao Zhou felt as if he had been pardoned. In that case, sister-in-law, Brother Shin seems to have fallen asleep again. I'll hang up now. Okay. Thank you for your hard work. You're welcome. Xiao Zhou hung up the phone in trepidation before heaving a huge sigh of relief. Xiao Zhou returned the phone to Shen Jilia with a pained expression and said, Brother Shin, Is it really okay to lie to sister-in-law like that? I think it's better to tell her. Shen Jilia lay on the hospital bed. His eyes were squinted, and his face was extremely pale. A soft tube was attached to his arm, and a transparent liquid was slowly being transferred into his body. When he heard Xiao Zhou's words, Shen Jilia opened his eyes and said, "It'll be even worse if I tell her. She'll be worried." "But are you going to stay in the hospital just like that? With your injuries, you'll need to stay here for at least some time. It won't do if you don't have a woman to take care of you." "It's fine. Go back to work. I can take care of it myself." Xiao Zhou panicked when he heard that. "What can you take care of? That's such a big wound, and you've lost so much blood. It's good enough that you're still alive. How are you going to survive? You might not even be able to use your arm for the rest of your life. If you don't take good care of it, we'll see who gets the short end of the stick in the future. It's my bad luck to have such a patient." Shen Jilia smiled bitterly as he looked at his arm, which had more than 10 stitches. "Where's the woman?" "Sigh. She's been sedated and locked up for the time being. But how did she end up like this all of a sudden? It can't be, Dr. Shen." Shen Jilia took a deep breath and said, "Get me some water." Xiao Zhou pouted, but he had no choice but to obediently pour some water. Shen Jilia continued, "She said that I looked like her ex-boyfriend and wanted me to compensate her for the loss of her youth. She even told me to die with her. I'm so handsome, so how could I die with her? What a waste. So, I resolutely resisted. She had a mental breakdown. After she smashed the cup, she stabbed me several times with the shards." Xiao Zhou was both angry and amused when he heard that. But when he looked at Shen Jilia's hand, he couldn't bring himself to laugh. "You used your hand to block it?" "Of course, if I didn't use my hands to block it, I would have either gone blind or had my throat slit. In any case, I would have ended up worse than this." "Tisk." Xiao Zhou expressed his sympathy. "A woman who has lost her mind isn't scary. The scariest thing is that this crazy woman is a Sonda fighter." "Thank you, Mr. Shen." "Well, where's the water?" "Coming." Yi Qianqian didn't sleep well that night. When the alarm clock rang the next day, she had only slept for a few hours. She got out of bed, washed up, and got ready to go to work. As soon as she got on the bus, she called Shen Jilia. Shen Jilia didn't seem to be fully awake. It rang a few times before the call was answered. "You're awake." Shen Jilia sounded sleepy. When Yi Qianqian heard the voice, she yawned as well. "Yeah, I'm on the bus heading to the office. What time is your flight?" It's 12 o'clock at noon. I have to arrive early." "All right, remember to drink some honey water or some hangover soup. Buy some plums before you board the plane. That way, you won't feel so uncomfortable." "Yes." "All right, go to sleep. When will you be back?" "In a few days. I'll call you when I'm back." "Okay. Go to sleep." "Okay." Shen Jilia replied in a low voice. Just as Yi Qianqian was about to hang up, Shen Jilia suddenly said, "Qianqian." "Yes. I love you." Chapter 1746. The corners of her lips curled up, but she said, "Why do you have so much to say?" "I'm hanging up." After hanging up, Yi Qianqian's drowsiness was swept away. She looked at the traffic jam in front of her and instantly felt more pleasing to the eye. Perhaps this was the power of love. After hanging up, Shen Jilia pressed the lock screen. The screensaver showed Yi Qianqian's beautiful and exquisite face. It made people feel relaxed and happy. The door to the ward opened, and Xiao Zhou walked in with a thermos. When he saw the smile on Shen Jilia's face, he teased, "Hey, hey, hey. What are you looking at? You look so happy. Are you looking at sister-in-law?" Shen Jilia put down his phone and wiped the smile off his face. He looked at Xiao Zhou and raised his eyebrows. "You're early? It's getting late. Everyone in the hospital is already at work. I specially checked in before coming over. Come, have some porridge. I haven't brushed my teeth yet. Come, help me up." Shen Jilia's hand was hurting badly. He was alone in the ward, and even going to the bathroom was a little difficult. Now that someone was around, he naturally had to do his job properly. Xiao Zhou was on good terms with Shen Jilie. When he saw Shen Jilie like this, he sighed and said, "Why don't you come clean with sister-in-law? You can't go on like this. Your hand needs to be monitored. You can't be careless." "It's fine. If she sees this, she'll despise me." Shen Jilie sighed. His heart ached. From the beginning, he had been pestering Yi Qianqian. Yi Qianqian had never thought of marrying him. If she knew that he was in this state, how would she react? Xiao Zhou could tell that Shen Jilie didn't seem to be joking. He laughed and said, "How could that be? Sister-in-law would feel bad for her own man. How can a woman not feel bad for him?" Shen Jilie sat up with help. When he heard Xiao Zhou's words, he was silent for a moment before saying, "She's not the same. There's nothing different. Women are all like that, especially since you've lived with her for so long. Maybe she already sees you as her husband. Even if you're disabled, a woman can't despise you. You'd better ask sister-in-law to take care of you. I'm busy with work. I'm afraid that if something happens, I won't be able to take care of you. Go away. I'm a doctor after all. I know common sense. If you still can't do it, I'll press the nursing light. Go back to your work. I'll be fine." "That won't do. Why don't I go to your house and pack some clothes to change into? We still have to observe for a while. We can't just wear this, right? Go buy a few. Don't go back. Don't tell my woman." Little Zhou was speechless. He opened the kanji to cool and walked out. Feng Tongtong was alone in Yi Qianqian's house. She was bored. Shen Jilie had been out on his own for several days. His days were getting more and more boring with each passing day, and Shen Jilie didn't even come home. Why not just return to Cloud Town? Feng Tongtong packed her clothes and bought a suitcase. Then, she packed all her belongings together. She came empty-handed and returned with a load. When she was packing, she saw a business card on the table in the living room. A few days ago, when they were talking, Shen Jilie had given her the business card of a single doctor. Feng Tongtong hadn't called him yet. When she looked at the white card, the corners of her lips slowly turned up. She picked up the landline in the living room and dialed the number. The call was quickly connected. Gu Yuanxing was at work. When he picked up his phone, he saw a notification, Director Shen's house. Chapter 1747. It must be sister-in-law, right? Gu Yuanxing glanced at the screen and felt a little uneasy. Why did his sister-in-law call him? I didn't do anything too serious, did I? After some thought, Gu Yuanxing picked up the phone and answered the call. Hello. It was a very young voice. Feng Tongtong's eyes lit up when she heard it. Hello, is this Dr. Gu Yuanxing? Yes. Sister-in-law. Sister-in-law? Feng Tongtong was stunned for a moment when he suddenly called her name. However, she quickly realized who he was referring to. You've misunderstood. I'm not his girlfriend. I'm his girlfriend's best friend. Gu Yuanxing heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that and asked, Then how did you get my number? Feng Tongtong was a little embarrassed. She stammered for a while before she said, I just wanted to get to know more people, so old Shin gave me your name card. Gu Yuanxing nodded his head and didn't think too much about it. He asked, Are you with sister-in-law now? Not yet. Qianqian went to work. What's the matter? Well, since you called, I won't hide it from you. Something happened to Brother Shen recently. He lied when he said that he returned to the capital today. He was injured and didn't want sister-in-law to worry, so he didn't dare to tell the truth. Feng Tongtong was shocked when she heard that. No way. Old Shen was injured? Is it serious? Sigh, it's pretty serious. His arm was stabbed 4 times, and every stab was very deep. There were even glass shards inside. One of them even injured an artery. After a blood transfusion, he's much better now. However, such a serious injury can't go unattended. Old Shen didn't dare tell his girlfriend because he was afraid that she would be worried. We were still wondering if we should hire a caregiver for him. Hire a caregiver? Caregivers are extremely expensive. Feng Tongtong clicked her tongue and said, There's no need to hire a caregiver. Mr. Gu, why don't you send me the address? I'll go take a look. If the injury is really serious, I'll tell Qian and ask her to take care of old Shin. Gu Yuanxing was quiet for a moment before he said, All right. He's at Kingstown Huxin Hospital. Call me when you're here, and I'll tell you in person. All right, I'll go right away. Oh yes, why don't you prepare some clothes for Brother Shen? Brother Shen doesn't have any clothes in the hospital, and it's not convenient for me to look for sister-in-law. All right, I'll tidy it up. Thank you. Gu Yuanxing heaved a sigh of relief. I should be the one thanking you. Old Zhou was still thinking of buying it after work. There's no need for that now. How should I address you? The room of the house. Okay, see you later. Fong Tong Tong hung up the phone. After she changed her clothes, she hurriedly hailed a cab and left. When they arrived at the hospital, it was already half an hour later. Fong Tong Tong called Gu Yuanxing and walked into the inpatient department. The call was quickly answered. Where are you? I'm in the inpatient department. Hey, I think I saw you. Are you wearing a white dress with long black hair and carrying a black bag? Yes. Fong Tong Tong looked around and finally saw a young man wearing glasses at the end of the corridor. He was quite tall, and his face was powdered and powdered. He looked gentle and refined, and was quite tall. Chapter 1748. He was a handsome young man. Gu Yuanxing saw Fong Tong Tong and said, Hello, I'm Gu Yuanxing. Fong Tong Tong quickly reacted and nodded. Oh. Hello, I'm Fong Tong Tong. Gu Yuanxing smiled. He looked at the black bag in her hand and said, Is this Brother Shin's clothes? Give them to me. Yeah, I just took them. I don't know what he usually wears. I'm just staying at his house temporarily. Fong Tong Tong handed it over. It's okay. It's fine as long as you have them. Come with me. Gu Yuanxing brought Fong Tong Tong to Shen Jilia's ward. Shen Jilia was on an 4 drip. He sat on the bed and stared at his phone with a pale face. When he heard the door open, Shen Jilia looked up. When he saw Fong Tong Tong, his heart almost jumped out of his chest. Why are you here? Shen Jilia exclaimed in surprise. He quickly got up. However, just as he stood up, he sucked in a breath of cold air. Fong Tong Tong did not expect to see Shen Jilia like this. She was shocked. When she saw Shen Jilia's abnormally pale face, she was a little frightened. Fong Tong Tong shifted her gaze to Shen Jilia's arm. His arm was wrapped tightly, and blood was still seeping out. It was obvious that the injury was serious. How did you end up like this? Fong Tong Tong exclaimed. This is too tragic. If Qian saw this, she would be heartbroken. No, I have to call Qian. Your condition is too frightening. As she spoke, Fong Tong Tong had already picked up her phone. She found Qian's number and was about to call. Shen Jilia was shocked and said, No, Dr. Gu, quickly hold her down. You can't call my woman. Gu Yuanxing did not expect the lady to be so direct. She immediately picked up the phone. When he saw Shen Jilia's nervous expression, he quickly took the phone from Fong Tong Tong's hand and said, Miss Fong, please don't do this. Brother Shen doesn't want sister-in-law to know. That's why I chose to tell you. If you do this, won't I become a sinner? Gu Yuanxing pleaded, Miss Fong, please don't be rash. Fong Tong Tong's phone was being held. She frowned when she saw Shen Jilia's situation. Qian will be worried. Qian doesn't know about my injury, right? You didn't tell her, did you? Shen Jilia stood up. The wound on his arm was throbbing in pain. I didn't tell her, but you have no choice but to tell her about your condition. Fong Tong Tong felt that it was inappropriate. His arm was already in such a state. Shouldn't someone take care of him? No, I told her that I went to the capital. If I tell her now that I was lying to her, won't she hate me to death? But if I don't say it, Qian will definitely hate me. You're different. You're her best friend, and she values you very much. No matter what, she wouldn't break up with you, would she? Shen Jilia asked. Fong Tong Tong was speechless. Are you afraid that she'll break up with you? Shen Jilia was silent. Don't worry. It's impossible. Although Qian doesn't say it, she likes you very much. She loves you to death. It's impossible for her to break up with you. Chapter 1749. As soon as Gu Yuanxing heard that, he knew that Shen Jielia had come to settle scores with him. She subconsciously took a step back, coughed lightly, and said, "Brother Shen, I'm doing this for your own good. Look, I even asked this girl to pack some clothes for you." As he spoke, he tugged at the bag. The clothes inside quickly fell to the ground and fell into a pile. Feng Tongtong was a little embarrassed. "I took everything from my suitcase. Last night, Qianqian prepared a few pieces of clothing for you and placed them in a small suitcase. I opened it up and took the clothes over, but I was in a hurry, so I casually scooped them up. Actually, I didn't know what was inside. Did Qianqian prepare this for me?" Shen Jielia stared at the pile of clothes and felt a little happy. "Well, didn't you say you were going back to the capital today? She packed it for you and waited for you to go home to get it." Gu Yuanxing's face was full of envy, jealousy, and hatred. "Brother Shen, you're so lucky. You didn't even let sister-in-law know about this." Sigh, if sister-in-law knew, she would be so distressed. When Shen Jielia heard this, he felt a little smug. From the looks of it, Yi Qianqian's heart wasn't without him. Even though he didn't go back last night, she still knew to prepare clothes for him. However, if Yi Qianqian found out that he was lying to her, Shen Jielia sighed softly and said, "Let's wait for a few more days. We'll tell her when she's almost recovered. She's been very busy lately, and she hasn't been to work for a few days. We can't let her keep taking days off and running around." Most importantly, he didn't want her to worry. She looked at Feng Tongtong and said, "You should go back first. Don't tell her about this. Just pretend that you don't know anything about it." Feng Tongtong furrowed her brows and said, "How can I do that? If I know, I know. If I don't know, I don't know. If you want me to not tell Qianqian, that's fine too. Qianqian is more sensitive. If she finds out, she'll definitely be upset." Yes. Shen Jielia understood Yi Qianqian, but Feng Tongtong understood her even better. Although Yi Qianqian appeared carefree, she was more meticulous than most people. "Why don't you return to Cloud Town directly? That way, you won't have to hide it from Qianqian and go against your conscience." When Feng Tongtong heard that, she felt even more annoyed and said, "Are you saying that you want me to leave you here to fend for yourself? I have a bunch of colleagues here, and this is my territory. What do you mean by self-destruction?" Shen Jielia found it a little funny. "That's enough. It's none of your business. Go back." "No, Qianqian has been busy recently, and I just thought that you went back to the capital. I have nothing to do all day, and I know how you are now. Let me take care of you. Anyway, you have colleagues to do the hard work. I'll just buy you food and bring you water." "I think it's fine." Gu Yuanxing immediately replied, "Anyway, Brother Shen, you can only lie down now. Let Xiao Feng accompany you to talk. How good would that be?" "Go to hell. No, men and women shouldn't touch each other. After all, I'm a single girl. What's the point of taking care of a man?" "No. Aya, why are you so pretentious? The girl doesn't even mind." Gu Yuanxing said, "Don't you think so, Xiao Feng?" Chapter 1750. Gu Yuanxing clapped his hands. "Good. Well said. It's settled then. Brother Shen, I'm leaving. Little Feng, call me if you need anything. I'm ready to answer the phone anytime." "Okay. Go ahead." Feng Tongtong smiled. Soon, Gu Yuanxing felt relieved, turned around, and walked out. Shen Jielia felt it was inappropriate. "You should go back. It's not appropriate for a man and a woman to be alone. Why are you so talkative? Can you move by yourself? Why don't I call Qianqian over?" The second half of the sentence hit Shen Jilia's soft spot. Shen Jilia pursed his lips and didn't say anything. From that day on, Feng Tongtong was busy running up and down the hospital. When Yi Qianqian went to work during the day, Feng Tongtong ran to the hospital. Feng Tongtong took care of ordering takeout, buying nutritious meals, changing medicine, pouring water, and other miscellaneous chores. If Shen Jilia needed to go to the bathroom, he would call for his buddies to help him. Fong Tong Tong slowly returned home in the evening. This went on for 3 to 4 days in a row. It was the weekend. It was rare that Yi Qianqian didn't sleep in on the weekend. She picked up her phone and scrolled through Weibo. She couldn't bear to read anything else. She closed the page and opened her contact list. Ever since Shen Jilie returned to the capital, she had called Shen Jilie more than 20 times. Each call lasted no more than 10 minutes. More importantly, Yi Qianqian had been the one to make all the calls in the past 10 minutes. Shen Jilie hadn't taken the initiative to call her in the past few days. The more Yi Qianqian thought about it, the more she felt that something was wrong. She sent a text message. Yi Qianqian asked, "Are you awake?" There was no reply. She looked at the time. It was 8:30 in the morning. According to Shen Jilie's normal biological clock, he should be awake by now. Yi Qianqian wanted to call him, but she immediately regretted her decision before the call could go through. Yi Qianqian hung up the phone and walked out in frustration. At that moment, Fong Tong Tong walked out of the bathroom. She had changed into clothes that were suitable for going out instead of her normal pajamas. Yi Qianqian was a little surprised. "Who are you going out with?" "Ah, haha." Fong Tong Tong was a little embarrassed. "I'm going to meet a classmate. I haven't seen him in a long time." "Classmate? Who? You don't know him." "I don't know them?" Yi Qianqian found it strange. "Stop fooling around. Are there any classmates you know that I don't know?" "Ahaha, that's right. Didn't you choose fewer elective courses in university? That's when I met her. You've never seen her before." Yi Qianqian found it even stranger. "I wanted to go to the movies with you. Is the classmate you're talking about a guy or a girl? Don't tell me you're in love?" "Of course not." "Sigh, it's not that easy to fall in love." "Sigh, I'm going out." Fong Tong Tong looked a little defeated. "You should continue to catch up on sleep. You've been working overtime for so many days. Get some rest." "When are you coming back?" "How about tonight?" "Oh. You've been coming home very late recently, and you've been spending time with your classmate? You leave early and return late, and you won't even let me see you. How dare you say that you're not dating?" Yi Qianqian's eyes were mischievous. "Tell me, who is the other party?" "Bah! Don't think too much about it. Hurry up and call your man." "Mua." Fong Tong Tong put on her shoes and quickly ran off. Chapter 1751. The Ways of the World. Yi Qianqian slumped on the sofa out of boredom. She picked up her phone and clicked on the chat box with Shen Jilie. Shen Jilie's status on her WeChat was pinned at the top. His profile picture was of him wearing a white coat, and he looked like a proper person. She hadn't seen that face for days. She flipped through their chat history. Suddenly, her phone vibrated, and a new message came in. It was from WeChat. It was from Shen Jilie. Shen Jilie's message was a little strange. It was a few words. "Have you seen the stars?" Yi Qianqian blinked her eyes in confusion. "Sisai colon? Shen Jilie?" "Sisai. Yes, I have." Shen Jilie. "Have you seen a 5-pointed star?" "Sisai. Picture." Yi Qianqian drew a 5-pointed star and sent it over with a cheeky emoticon. Shen Jilie. "Have you seen a 4-pointed star?" "Sisai. Air. Are there stars with 4 corners?" Shen Jilie. "I miss you." At the same time that the message was sent, many 4-pointed stars fell from WeChat, glittering with golden light. Yi Qianqian's heart warmed when she saw it, and she chuckled. She opened the video call and made the call. However, Shen Jilie immediately rejected the call as soon as it was made. Shen Jilie's reply came immediately. "It's not convenient. The elders are talking." "Sisai, your elders are talking, and you have the nerve to be daydreaming in front of them. Are you tired of living?" Shen Jilie. "It doesn't matter. As long as you don't do it openly. I'm handsome, so I have special privileges." "Sisai. Are you shameless?" Shen Jilie. "Ha ha ha. Sisai. When are you coming back?" "Sisai. I miss you too." "Sisai. Tong Tong might be going back in a few days. Come back soon." Shen Jilie's heart warmed when he saw Yi Qianqian's words. She said that she missed him too. God knew how rare it was to hear such words from Yi Qianqian's mouth. However, looking at the water still dripping from his hand, he said, "I'm afraid it'll take a few more days. I won't be back so soon." Yi Qianqian was disappointed and asked, "Call me when you're ready." As soon as the message was sent, Shen Jilia's call came in. Yi Qianqian was pleasantly surprised. "Hello. You woke up so early?" Shen Jilia's voice sounded lazy and low. It was obvious that he had just woken up. When she heard the voice, Yi Qianqian felt a rush of heat in her heart. She became restless. Aren't you the elder talking? I said I had a stomachache, so I ran out." Shen Jilia said this calmly. "Life has been tough lately. I've been under pressure every day." Sigh. "Okay, then I'll talk to old Shen." "Thank you, comrade Little Goo." A loud female voice, a classic and familiar loud voice. Shen Jilia's heart skipped a beat. He was caught off guard when the door to the ward was opened. His beloved Fang Tongtong's voice was especially jarring. Shen Jilia subconsciously plugged his phone's microphone, but the moment he did so, Fang Tongtong's voice was cut off again. Fang Tongtong walked in with 2 sets of breakfast in her hands. Her eyes were fixed on Shen Jilia. When she saw the phone in Shen Jilia's hand, she was immediately shocked. She stammered, You're on the phone?" Chapter 1752. Yi Qianqian's curious voice drifted over. Shen Jilia's heart was in his throat. He quickly replied, "How is that possible? I'm in the capital. By the way, what has Tong Tong been up to recently?" Yi Qianqian smiled. Yes, how could that be possible? Shen Jilia was in the capital, and Fang Tongtong was still in Kingstown. When she heard that, Yi Qianqian tucked her hair behind her ear. She couldn't hide the smile on her lips as she said, "She seems to be in a relationship recently. She's always happy when she goes out every day. When she comes back, she's already had her meal. I've been eating alone recently. Fortunately, this long-time bachelor is finally going to get rid of her single status." Sigh. I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. As Shen Jilia listened, his eyes fell on Fang Tongtong. The more he listened, the more guilty he felt. If Yi Qianqian found out that Fang Tongtong had nothing to do in the hospital recently, what would she think? Shen Jilia suddenly regretted it. Yi Qianqian stayed with Fang Tongtong every day. They ate and lived together. It was hard to guarantee that Fang Tongtong wouldn't give herself away. Although there was nothing between them, Yi Qianqian's tone made it clear that Fang Tongtong had been in a relationship recently. If Yi Qianqian found out that Fang Tongtong's boyfriend was actually Shen Jilia, wouldn't that be bad? "What are you doing?" Yi Qianqian asked when she saw that Shen Jilia was not speaking. Shen Jilia immediately snapped back to reality. He laughed and said, "Nothing. My grandmother was talking to me just now. Remember to eat on time when I'm not around. Have you been busy at work recently?" "Yeah, I've been crazy busy. There's a lot of things that have been backlogged, and I have to deal with all of them. Yesterday was Friday, and I worked overtime until 10 o'clock at night. Fortunately, Tong Tong had already had her meal when she came back. Otherwise, my heart would be filled with guilt." "You!" Shen Jilia felt his heart ache. Yi Qianqian's mouth was sometimes unforgiving, but Shen Jilia knew that she was just a tough mouth. Deep down, she was kinder than anyone else. She had this kind of attractive quality, which was why he was so attracted to her. Shen Jilia's heart softened, and he took a deep breath. "Don't tire yourself out. If you're too busy with work, you can ask Lily to help you. Anyway, Lily is waiting at home to give birth. She's bored all day." "That won't do. She's pregnant. If O Ming finds out, I'll be hacked to death." Shen Jilia chuckled. He glanced at Fang Tongtong, who was rooted to the spot, and said, "That's true. I'll tell you later. I'll be busy for a while." "All right." Yi Qianqian reluctantly hung up the phone. Yi Qianqian hugged the large doll on the sofa and rolled over. Her heart felt as if it had been pricked by a rusty hook. It was itchy and painful. Busy. 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 Busy in Kingstown. Busy back in the capital. Yi Qianqian bit the nose of the big puppy. Are you so busy that you don't even have time to talk to me? You bastard. However, she would soon be able to see him again. The corners of Yi Qianqian's lips curled up. She turned around and picked up her phone. Fong Tong Tong put down the breakfast and carefully walked over. Did I speak too loudly just now? He asked with some uncertainty and apprehension on his face. Chapter 1753. When Fong Tong Tong saw Shen Jilia's expression, she immediately knew what was going on. He immediately closed his eyes, put his palms together in front of his eyes, and said sincerely, I'm sorry, old Shen. I really didn't mean it. I didn't know you were on the phone. The person who called just now was Qianqian, right? Shen Jilia's expression darkened, but he didn't answer her directly. He said, It's better if you don't come here anymore. My condition is much better now. I'll be discharged in a few days. I don't need your care anymore. Fong Tong Tong's heart skipped a beat. How can we do that? No way. Shen Jilia frowned when he heard that. I can get up on my own now. I can even eat and go to the bathroom. I don't need anyone to take care of me anymore. Fong Tong Tong also realized that she might have overreacted. After a moment of silence she said, You might think that your condition is much better, but Xiaogu just told me that your wound is still healing. It could reopen at any time. If it bleeds and becomes inflamed, it'll be very troublesome. Yi Qianqian looked at Fong Tong Tong. Gu Yuanxing told you? Fong Tong Tong nodded. Then tell Gu Yuanxing to come in and tell me. Fong Tong Tong's expression darkened. Don't you trust me? I came here to take care of you for the past few days because you didn't want Qianqian to know, so I didn't dare to tell her about you. Every day when I'm with her, I'm afraid that I won't be able to stop myself from telling her. Do you know how tormented I am? Fong Tong Tong's words were direct and carried an indescribable sense of grievance. Shen Jilia pursed his lips and remained silent. I'm Qianqian's best friend. Recently, Qianqian has been as busy as a spinning top. She gets off work very late every day. However, it's the weekend these 2 days, and you can't leave someone to take care of you. I think I'd better talk to her about it. As she spoke, Fong Tong Tong had already picked up her phone and looked like she was about to make a call. Shen Jilia's expression darkened. Are you threatening me? How is this a threat? It's only right for your girlfriend to take care of you, but Qianqian has been so busy lately, and you're afraid that she'll tire herself out. As Qianqian's best friend, I have no choice but to help. Because of your request, I'm stuck in the middle, and now I'm being chased away by you. What the F***ck? As Fong Tong Tong spoke, her eyes reddened. Turning around, he said, Forget it. It's the weekend anyway. Go and call her over yourself. These words, Shen Jilia felt a headache coming on. He raised his hand and shouted, Wait a minute. Why are you looking for Qianqian now? I already told her that I'm in the capital. Aren't you trying to slap me in the face? Then what should I do? You won't let me stay here, and you can't be alone here. If you get infected by yourself, it'll be fatal. Do you want me to watch my best friend's boyfriend die in front of me? Shen Jilia was speechless. He could only feel the pain from the wound on his arm. Forget it, I'm hungry. What did you buy? Fong Tong Tong's back was facing Shen Jilia, and the corners of her lips curled up. But he quickly restrained himself, turned around, and opened the lunchbox he had just bought, and said, Light porridge. Shen Jilia had asked Gu Yuanxing about it, and it was indeed Gu Yuanxing who had said that. This was because the possibility of infection had been greatly reduced. Now, the probability had become very, very small, but they still had to be prepared. Chapter 1754. However, time seemed to be crawling at a snail's pace. On Sunday, Yi Qianqian slept the entire day at home. When she woke up, it was already evening. The dim light in the surroundings made everything look like it was covered with a layer of gray veil. The lights in the house weren't turned on, and Fong Tong Tong hadn't returned yet. Yi Qianqian looked at everything in front of her, and waves of emptiness assaulted her heart. Inexplicably, she felt as if she had been abandoned by the entire world. Loneliness, solitude, Her heart ached. Yi Qianqian reached for her phone and looked at the time. It was 7 o'clock in the evening. Yi Qianqian tapped on her contact list and immediately dialed the number that she was extremely familiar with. The call was quickly picked up. There was a burst of noise before Shen Jilia's voice could be heard. Shen Jilia coughed heavily before asking, "What's wrong?" Yi Qianqian's heart felt empty, and she felt extremely uncomfortable. She stood up and turned on the lights. It was a little blinding, but at least the feeling of emptiness had faded a lot. "I just woke up and dreamed of you." Yi Qianqian sat on the bed and narrowed her eyes. "Guess what I dreamed of?" "Well, if you can dream of me, it's definitely not an empty dream. It's probably that your mind was filled with my handsome face, and you couldn't walk because of my handsomeness?" Shen Jilia made a soft sound. "Brother Shen, can you be a little more shameless?" When Yi Qianqian heard the sound, she laughed out loud. "Look, even your colleagues are saying that you're shameless. Can't you speak properly?" "Well, let me guess. You dreamed that we got married? Then we gave birth to an adorable daughter? Then we held our daughter's hand together, and the family of 3 happily went to school. During the day, we went to school and went to work separately. At night, we went home together and dreamed together." Yi Qianqian's heart warmed, but she still retorted, "That's called daydreaming." "I really did have that kind of dream." After Shen Jilia said that, he immediately realized what was going on. "What did you dream of just now?" "I dreamed that we broke up. Then, you went around crying, telling everyone that I had dumped you and that I was fooling around outside. I went around saying that it wasn't me, it wasn't me." As Yi Qianqian spoke, she chuckled. "But you kept slandering me. You said that I cheated on you and that I had another man outside. Then, my reputation was ruined. Everyone was spitting on me. Then, I woke up in shock." Shen Jilia was silent for a moment before he said, "That's what you call daydreaming. You can't even dream about breaking up with me." "I'll go." Yi Qianqian felt much more at ease after hearing his words. Her stomach growled and she immediately said, "I'm hungry. I'm going to eat. Bye." "Hello." Shen Jilia wanted to say something else, but Yi Qianqian had already hung up. Yi Qianqian's lips curled up in a good mood. She tossed her phone aside and went outside to cook some noodles for herself. However, he immediately regained his senses. Just now, who was the person on the other end of the line? Only his colleagues would address him as Brother Shen. That was why she said it was his colleague. But, wasn't Shen Jilia supposed to be at home in the capital? Why didn't Shen Jilia refute her? Before Yi Qianqian could figure it out, the door opened. Fang Tongtong walked in with a tired expression. When she saw Yi Qianqian, she greeted her and said, "Hi." "Yeah, I'm cooking noodles. Have you eaten?" "I have." Chapter 1755. There was a hint of ambiguity in Yi Qianqian's words. When Fang Tongtong saw it, she felt a little guilty. She averted her eyes, not daring to meet Yi Qianqian's eyes. She said bashfully, "What little boyfriend? There's nothing like that." "Nothing?" Yi Qianqian leaned over. "Why are you blushing if there's nothing like that?" "Wow, Fang Tongtong actually knows how to be shy? Quick, tell me what kind of person is that man? Is he handsome?" Fang Tongtong felt even more uneasy. She turned her head away and said, "Don't overthink it. He's not a man." "Ha! If he's not a man, you leave early and return late every day?" Yi Qianqian clearly did not believe her. Teske. When Fang Tongtong saw Yi Qianqian skillfully cooking noodles, the guilt in her heart lessened a little. "But I really didn't expect that you would get into a relationship so soon after coming to Kingstown. You'll have to come to Kingstown more often in the future." Yi Qianqian extinguished the fire and sat down on the sofa with the noodles. Fang Tongtong looked at her. Her heart was beating a little fast. She sat down in front of Yi Qianqian and said, "Actually, I'm not going on a date recently. He was injured, so I went to the hospital to take care of him." "Injured? What happened?" "It was a work injury. I'm not too sure about the details, but the injury was pretty serious. He had to get 12 stitches on his arm, and his artery was injured. He's still in the hospital after a blood transfusion. Yi Qianqian gasped. That can't be. Is his hand all right? It's fine. Fortunately, it didn't hurt his nerves. As long as he recuperates, his hand will be fine. Feng Tongtong looked at Yi Qianqian and smiled. He's much better now. That's good. That's good. But what kind of job is this? It's too dangerous. His hand was perfectly fine, and it ended up like this. His life might be in danger in the future. Yi Qianqian was frightened when she heard that. You have to make a good choice when it comes to marriage. Tell him to quit when he's better. Feng Tongtong laughed. It's just an exception. It's not as dangerous as it is every day. This job is still very stable. What do you do? Doctor, haven't the doctor-patient relationship been a little tense lately? I can't help it even if I bump into them occasionally. Feng Tongtong shrugged. Doctor? What a coincidence. Haha. Old Shen is also a doctor, but he's a psychiatrist. He's nothing compared to those doctors who can save lives with a knife. Bring me to meet him if there's a chance. Yi Qianqian was surprised. Yeah. Feng Tongtong felt a little guilty and lowered her head. I'll bring him home when he's better. Great, what does he look like? He looks good when he smiles. His teeth are very neat, and he loves to smile. He's also very tall and has fair skin, but he's very masculine. He likes to work out, and he's healthy, sunny, and handsome. Feng Tongtong's face was filled with fascination when she talked about this person. Yi Qianqian looked at her with a mischievous glint in her eyes. It looks like you've really fallen for him this time. A man that you like must be very outstanding, right? Of course he is very, very outstanding. I like him very, very much. Ha ha ha, does she like you? Of course. Feng Tongtong's face heated up. Otherwise, it's just that I'm too busy shaving my head. It's boring. Yi Qianqian patted her on the shoulder and said, That's good. Get along well. When you get married, I'll be your bridesmaid. Chapter 1756. Yi Qianqian suddenly remembered something and quickly looked down. Oh, my noodles! As soon as she looked down, Yi Qianqian felt that the person she was describing was very similar to Shen Jielia. Loved to smile and looked good when he smiled. Loved to work out and was sunny. Every single description matched perfectly with Shen Jilia's. However, Yi Qianqian was immediately amused by her own thoughts. It was just a coincidence. Yi Qianqian picked up the noodles with her chopsticks and took a big bite. Feng Tongtong stared at Yi Qianqian eating the noodles. She felt nervous and excited. It felt as if she was doing something bad. However, Feng Tongtong was addicted to the feeling and couldn't extricate herself. Excited. After finishing her noodles, Yi Qianqian sat on the sofa and played with her phone. All she could think about was what Feng Tongtong had just said about her little boyfriend. They were both doctors, and they looked the same. It was just a work-related injury. In the past, no matter how busy Shen Jielia was, he would always report to her. However, Shen Jielia suddenly told her that he was going to the capital and didn't even come back to pack his clothes. Wasn't it a little rushed? Shen Jielia. Shen Jielia. After dying several times in the boring puzzle game, Yi Qianqian closed the page and stared at the coffee table in a daze. Once she thought about it, Yi Qianqian couldn't stop. Some things simply couldn't stand up to any scrutiny. Once one seriously analyzed it, everything that was supposed to be logical and logical became wrong. Yi Qianqian picked up her phone and thought about it. She decided to call Shen Jielia. The call was quickly connected. Shen Jielia seemed to be watching television. She could hear the sound of the television. Yi Qianqian asked, What are you doing? Nothing. I'm just bored. Well. Yi Qianqian's heart beat faster. Do you have nothing to do at home in the capital? Yeah. I'm bored, but my grandmother won't let me go back to Kingstown. She wants me to stay for a few more days. Why don't I go to the capital to look for you? Haven't you always wanted me to meet your parents and your grandmother? I think I'm ready. Yi Qianqian's heart beat faster. She held her breath nervously. She thought that Shen Jielia would happily agree to it. Surprisingly, Shen Jielia didn't respond immediately. Instead, he paused for a moment before saying, Recently, I've been quite busy at home. My brother's matter has caused a huge commotion at home. It's not appropriate for you to come at this time. Yi Qianqian was a little disappointed. She felt that something was amiss and asked, "Is Shen Manting back?" Shen Jilia paused for a moment. "Yeah. She's pregnant." "Yes. It just so happens that I haven't seen Shen Manting in a long time. I'll go and see her." Shen Jilia was even more flustered. He tightened his grip on his phone and thought for a moment before replying, "Anything is fine." But Manting's mood hasn't been stable lately, and the house is a little chaotic. I might not be able to entertain you when you're here. Grandma and Mom and Dad have been quite vexed lately. This meant that he didn't want her to go. Yi Qianqian was disappointed. All right. Next time then. After talking about some trivial matters, Yi Qianqian grew bored. She hung up the phone and leaned back on the sofa. It shouldn't be like this. Shen Jilia should have overcome all obstacles and welcomed her no matter what. Chapter 1757. It was a sleepless night. Perhaps it was because she had slept too much during the day, or perhaps it was because of the increasingly strange thoughts in her heart, but she couldn't fall asleep no matter how hard she tossed and turned. The next day, Feng Tongtong still woke up early. When Yi Qianqian saw her putting on her shoes in the entryway, she asked, "Did you go out?" "Yeah." Feng Tongtong seemed to be in a good mood as she hummed a tune. When Yi Qianqian saw Feng Tongtong's expression, she casually asked, "Which hospital does your boyfriend work at?" "Ah." Feng Tongtong was taken aback. She suddenly felt guilty and laughed. "At a not-so-big hospital. Private enterprise?" "Not really." "What's your name?" Feng Tongtong didn't know what to say. She couldn't possibly say that it was Huxin Hospital, could she? He suddenly remembered the name of a hospital that he had inadvertently memorized last time and said, "Fengqi Hospital." Damn, that hospital is a Class 3 Grade A hospital. How can it be a small hospital? Feng Tongtong felt a little awkward. She laughed dryly and said, I don't really understand either. I'll be leaving first." "Wait for me. I'm ready too. I have to go to work. Let's go together." After Yi Qianqian was done drying the clothes, she went to her room to retrieve her bag. She put on her shoes and walked toward Feng Tongtong. Feng Tongtong looked at the time with an indecipherable expression on her face. "Let's go." The two of them got off the elevator. There was a bus stop at the entrance of the neighborhood. Yi Qianqian walked toward the bus stop and waved at Feng Tongtong. "I'm going to work." Feng Tongtong nodded and waved her hand as she hailed a taxi. Fengqi Hospital was on the opposite side of the bus stop. It was not far from here. It would only take about 10 minutes to walk there. When Yi Qianqian looked at the taxi, she realized that it had originally been moving in the same direction, but it had deliberately turned around and headed in the opposite direction. Yi Qianqian frowned when she saw that. Feng Tongtong was lying to her. The doubts that had tormented her for the whole night were magnified at this moment. Yi Qianqian saw an empty car driving over from afar. She stopped it and pointed at the car that Feng Tongtong was in and said, "Follow that car." The chauffeur gave Yi Qianqian a strange look but didn't ask any questions. He quickly drove off. There were many cars coming and going during the rush hour. Yi Qianqian sent a message to her supervisor to ask for a leave of absence. After a lot of negotiation, she was finally granted her leave. Feng Tongtong's car drove further and further away. About 20 minutes later, she finally stopped. Huxin Hospital. When Yi Qianqian stopped, the sense of crisis that had been lurking in her heart suddenly rose. But it was quickly suppressed. No. It was just a coincidence. Yi Qianqian refused to believe her. She paid the taxi fare and followed Feng Tongtong's footsteps. Feng Tongtong bought breakfast at the entrance of the hospital. From the looks of it, she seemed to be very familiar with the people in the hospital. She greeted quite a few people along the way. "Xiao Feng, you're here again. Brother Shen is probably still sleeping. You're so early every day. Brother Shen is so lucky." Yi Qianqian's heart felt like it was being squeezed by a large hand. It was so heavy that she couldn't breathe. Brother Shen, who else could it be but Shen Jilia? Her originally unshakable trust in Xueqi was suddenly lifted up in front of her. It was as if he was asking her, "Do you still believe in him?" Feng Tongtong walked all the way to a ward. Yi Qianqian followed her and dodged around. Fortunately, there were many people around, so it wasn't obvious what her motive was. Chapter 1758. His familiarity with the ward did not show any awareness of entering someone else's boyfriend's ward. Feng Tongtong quickly closed the door. Yi Qianqian leaned against the door and picked up her phone. After turning his phone to silent mode, he sent a WeChat message to Xueqi. "Are you awake?" The phone inside rang. It was Xueqi. The last sliver of hope that Yi Qianqian was holding on to shattered inch by inch. His originally enthusiastic heart also cooled down inch by inch. "You're eating this again? Can't you come up with something new?" Xueqi's voice was filled with disdain. Yi Qianqian's heart felt as if it had been struck by something. The originally bright and clean mirror instantly cracked. Her phone vibrated. It was a reply from Xueqi. "Xueqi, I've been woken up by my own handsomeness." Yi Qianqian gripped her phone tightly. Her throat hurt. Yi Qianqian deliberately searched for the airport's address and sent it over. "Sisai, pick me up in the afternoon. I'm coming for you." Xueqi was inside, and when he saw the news, his body trembled. "What's wrong?" Feng Tongtong asked. "Qianqian wants to go to the capital to look for me." Xueqi felt a headache coming on. "Gosh, how am I supposed to play this game?" "Sisai, I have a surprise for you, ha ha ha, aren't you in the capital?" Xueqi, "Of course I'm in the capital. It's just that I'm overwhelmed with work at home. It's best if you don't come." "Sisai, you were the one who told me to meet your parents, and now you're telling me not to go. Are you crazy?" "Sisai, do you not want me to see your parents anymore? Have you changed your mind? Falling in love with someone else?" Xueqi, "How is that possible? I'll have to meet my parents sooner or later, but now isn't the right time." "Sisai, then tell me clearly, is it you who won't let me go, or is it your grandma's parents who won't let me go?" Xueqi, "It's me. I don't think the timing is right." "Sisai, why is the timing not right?" Xueqi, "Busy at home." "Sisai, I want to hear the truth." Xueqi, "I'm really busy." Yi Qianqian's heart sank when she read his words. Clutching his phone, he felt as if his heart was being pricked by needles. Xueqi looked at his phone and realized that Yi Qianqian wasn't replying to him anymore. After some thought, Xueqi called Yi Qianqian. Yi Qianqian looked at the phone and refused to answer it. Xueqi panicked and made another call. Yi Qianqian composed herself and took a deep breath before answering the call. Xueqi was delighted and quickly called out, "Hey, Qianqian." "Yes. Where are you now?" "I came to find you." "That. I've been busy lately, so." "Is that so?" Yi Qianqian no longer lowered her voice. He turned to the side and pushed the door open. Feng Tongtong sat on a stool by the bed and was preparing breakfast. Xueqi leaned against the headboard and was on the phone. When Feng Tongtong and Xueqi saw Yi Qianqian standing at the door, they were both shocked. When Yi Qianqian saw the scene, she found it even more hilarious. Her best friend, and her boyfriend, the man she thought she could entrust the rest of her life to. "I really like him." "Does she like you?" "Of course. Otherwise, it's just that I'm hot-headed. It's boring." So, they were really together, right? Chapter 1759. Xueqi couldn't react at all. He stared at Yi Qianqian for a moment before he mumbled, "Qianqian." Yi Qianqian opened the door wider and walked forward. Feng Tongtong looked at Yi Qianqian. She wanted to say something, but when she opened her mouth, no words came out. Awkward. Especially when she thought about what she said to Yi Qianqian the night before, Feng Tongtong felt that her current posture was a little ugly. Best friend. Boyfriend. Best friend's boyfriend. Since everyone is here, there are some things that we should all be clear about. Yi Qianqian's lips were slightly curved, but her uneven breathing clearly revealed her feelings at that moment. She wasn't as calm as she appeared to be. Shenjilia's heart skipped a beat. He immediately stood up and walked forward. But before he could say anything, he saw Yi Qianqian walk forward. Yi Qianqian's cheeks, which were usually gentle and playful, were abnormally red. Yi Qianqian gritted her teeth and walked forward. She raised her hand and slapped it hard. Slap. The loud sound of the slap was especially loud in the quiet ward. Shenjilia was stunned by the slap. He felt a burning sensation on his cheek, and Yi Qianqian's expression was almost contorted, but she still tried her best to maintain a calm expression. Yi Qianqian was furious. Feng Tongtong exclaimed in surprise. She immediately stood up and explained, "Qianqian, you've misunderstood. I don't have the kind of relationship you think I have with him." In Yi Qianqian's ears, Feng Tongtong's words sounded more like a proud boast. "Ha." Yi Qianqian looked at Feng Tongtong. Her voice was so cold that even she found it strange. "Is this the doctor boyfriend you were talking about? Mutual affection?" Feng Tongtong felt as if she had bitten her tongue. She wanted to say something, but she couldn't say a word. Yes, she was the one who said it. She was the one who said all the words. "Qianqian." Shenjilia held Yi Qianqian's hand uneasily. Let go." Yi Qianqian was on the verge of breaking down. Her voice was already choking. "Shenjilia, what do you take me for?" Shenjilia panicked. He grabbed her hand and squeezed it tightly. "I just don't want you to worry. Get lost. Let go of Shenjilia. We're done for." Yi Qianqian flung his hand off forcefully and bellowed, "Go to hell with the capital. Go to hell with your work." "Qianqian." Feng Tongtong panicked as well. She had grown up with Yi Qianqian and had never seen Yi Qianqian in such a state. "I'm sorry, Qianqian. F*CKU. I'm sorry, B*TCH." Yi Qianqian retreated and suddenly laughed. "Do you like to steal from others? Fine, I'll give it to you. I don't care for such a piece of *T. Feng Tongtong's breathing quickened. She found it hard to believe that Yi Qianqian would have such a side to her. Her hysterical words fell into Shenjilia's ears. It was as if Yi Qianqian had taken a hoe and was viciously digging into his heart. "Yi Qianqian." Shenjilia wanted to chase after her, but Yi Qianqian retreated as if she had seen a wild beast. Yi Qianqian's flushed face was filled with disdain. She turned around abruptly and broke into a run. Shenjilia panicked. The moment Yi Qianqian turned around, he immediately chased after her. He reached out to grab her arm and shouted, Qianqian, it's not what you think it is. A few days ago Chapter 1760. Everyone turned to look at her. Shenjilia was holding her hand. It was his right hand. It was his right arm that had received 12 stitches. Yi Qianqian didn't hold back. Shenjilia grunted, but he didn't loosen his grip on her arm. "I told you about the female patient a few days ago. Do you remember her? It's her. Let go." Yi Qianqian calmed down, but her voice was as cold as ice. Shenjilia panicked even more. When he saw Yi Qianqian like this, the words that were on the tip of his tongue were stuck in his throat like a fish bone. He couldn't get them out. "Qianqian, I told you to let go. Are you deaf?" Yi Qianqian screamed hysterically. More and more people gathered to watch. Lao Zhou was attracted by the noise. He squeezed into the crowd and saw Yi Qianqian holding Shenjilia. When he saw the blood on Shenjilia's arm, he was even more shocked. He ran forward and asked, Brother Shen, what happened?" As he shouted, he rushed forward and grabbed Shenjilia's hand. "Oh my God, do you want to die? Let go. If you don't let go, your hand will be crippled." Shenjilia's eyes were fixed on Yi Qianqian. "Qianqian, I didn't mean to lie to you. I just didn't want you to worry. Let go. This is the last time." Although Yi Qianqian's face was red, her eyes were extremely calm. She looked at Shenjilia coldly. "I heard that if you bite your tongue into an artery, you'll die." Her voice was as cold as ice. She looked at Shenjilia indifferently. Her expression was cold and determined. It was Shen Jilia's first time seeing Yi Qianqian like this. He was a little scared. His hand unconsciously loosened. Yi Qianqian flung him aside forcefully and strode forward. Yi Qianqian! Shen Jilia shouted and instinctively wanted to chase after her. However, Lao Zhou quickly grabbed him and said, "Brother Shen, you don't want your hand anymore?" Shen Jilia roared. "No!" He pushed Lao Zhou away and chased after her. However, there were many people in the corridor. Yi Qianqian squeezed into the crowd. By the time Shen Jilia caught up with her, he had already lost sight of her. Shen Jilia looked at the corridor and strode out. He looked left and right, but in the end, he didn't see anything. Lao Zhou caught up with him, looking a little nervous. "Brother Shen, you should take care of your wound as soon as possible. Look, it's bleeding. If it gets infected, it won't be a joke." "Where's my woman?" Shen Jilia turned to look at Lao Zhou. "Have you seen her? Where did she go?" Lao Zhou was stunned. He hadn't been paying attention to the girl at all. All his attention was on Shen Jilia's arm. Lao Zhou didn't know how to respond to Shen Jilia's question. Shen Jilia gritted his teeth. "Give me the phone." When Elder Zhou heard this roar, he knew that the situation was getting serious. Shen Jilia snatched the phone from her and dialed Yi Qianqian's number. Yi Qianqian turned around and ran into the fire escape door. He closed the door and listened to the sounds coming and going from outside. It was as if the whole world had become distant at this moment. Chapter 1761. It was over. It was time to end it. She had a best friend and a boyfriend. It was time to end it. She closed her eyes tightly and turned to walk to Basement 1. Basement 1 and Basement 2 were both underground parking lots. Neither Shen Jilia nor Fang Tongtong could go there. Yi Qianqian jogged down the stairs. Her phone began to vibrate. She picked it up and saw an unknown number. She was in Kingstown. She didn't think anyone else would call her at a time like this except for Shen Jilia or Fang Tongtong. She glanced at the number, hung up, and switched off her phone. Shen Jilia searched the entire hospital, regardless of whether it was the corridors or the doors. He also asked the patients, nurses, and doctors who were passing by. But no one saw him. It was as if he was hiding on purpose and didn't want Shen Jilia to find him. Fang Tongtong followed behind Shen Jilia. Lao Zhou looked at Shen Jilia awkwardly and said, "Brother Shen, you can't do this. Your hand." "Hand?" Shen Jilia glanced at his arms. His hands, which had been properly bandaged, were now stained red with blood. It looked a little scary. Shen Jilia only realized that his arm was hurting when he saw it. "Yeah," Shen Jilia replied. His pale face turned even uglier. "Let's go. No matter what, you have to take care of yourself first before you explain this misunderstanding to sister-in-law." Lao Zhou scratched his head. He was already clumsy, but he didn't know what else to say. He subconsciously glanced at Fang Tongtong. Lao Zhou felt even more awkward. He had always thought that Miss Fang was Shen Jilia's boyfriend. He had been calling her sister-in-law for so many days. He was wondering why Shen Jilia didn't seem to be that passionate toward Fang Tongtong. He thought he was a hypocrite and didn't love his girlfriend as much as he appeared to love her. He didn't expect it to be a misunderstanding. In this way everything made sense. Fang Tongtong had been trying to get close to Shen Jilia, but Shen Jilia's attitude was neither too close nor too distant. Lao Zhou didn't think it was appropriate for this girl. When almost everyone who knew Shen Jilia started calling her sister-in-law, she had never denied it. Otherwise, why would he think so? Based on Shen Jilia's reaction, it was obvious that the girl was his real girlfriend. It was obvious that their relationship had fallen apart. Shen Jilia walked back to his room like a zombie. He retrieved his cell phone and dialed Yi Yuyu's number. Yi Yuyu was still sleeping. It was rare for Li Jinnan to be at home with his wife. When he saw that the caller was Shen Jilia, he didn't hesitate to answer the call. "What's up?" His voice was light and carried the laziness of someone who just woke up. When Shen Jilia heard Li Jinnan's voice, he was silent for a moment before asking, "Where's Yuyu?" "He's asleep." "What's the matter?" "I'll pass on the message for you." "Did Qianqian call her?" "No." Well, if Qian calls you, please let me know. I'll be very grateful. Chapter 1762. Did they quarrel? Shenjilia chuckled, but his eyes were slightly red. If only it were that simple. That's all. Let me know if I call you again. Okay. After hanging up, Shenjilia passed the phone to Yu Lily. Yi Qian didn't have many friends. Other than her best friend Fong Tong Tong, Yu Lily was the closest to her. The phone rang a few times, but no one picked up. Shenjilia gripped his phone tightly. Yu Lily was also pregnant, so she was probably still asleep. This also meant that it was very likely that Yi Qian hadn't called her at all. Otherwise, Yu Lily would have long been awake. As expected, the call was quickly connected. It was exactly as Shenjilia had expected. Shenjilia hung up the phone in defeat and allowed his colleague to treat his wound. Fong Tong Tong stood far away and looked at Shenjilia, not daring to approach. Suddenly, Shenjilia looked over. Fong Tong Tong suddenly tensed up. Her entire body tensed up as she looked at Shenjilia. Shenjilia stared at Fong Tong Tong for a long time before saying, "You should go back to Yun Town. It's already chaotic enough." He didn't scold or complain. There was only this kind of estrangement that was so obvious that it made people's hearts feel stuffy. It was cold and determined, without the slightest bit of mercy. Although Shenjilia wasn't close to her these days, he had never treated her with such an attitude. But I'm very curious. Aren't you Qian's best friend? Why didn't you say a word when she was so angry just now? Based on her trust in you, she would believe you as long as you explain. Shenjilia's voice was a little sharp, and it could even be said to be a little aggressive. Fong Tong Tong held her breath. She didn't know what to say. Gu Yuanxing heard the commotion and rushed over. He heard Shenjilia's words the moment he entered. When he heard that, he knew things weren't simple. He was about to speak up for Fong Tong Tong when he saw Shenjilia's slightly swollen face the moment he entered. It was red and swollen. Gu Yuanxing swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue and said, "Brother Shen, your face." Shenjilia's eyes were fixed on Fong Tong Tong as he asked indifferently, "Did you tell her something else?" Fong Tong Tong's eyes were fixed on Shenjilia. Fong Tong Tong didn't know how to respond to his interrogation. Or rather, when faced with such a Shenjilia, her reflexes had been forced to slow down by half a beat. She did something bad. But how could she say it? How could she say it here? I didn't. Qian's personality has always been like this. You've lived with her for so long. You know her very well, don't you? She's always been like this since she was young. She'll be happy if things go her way, and she'll make a fuss if things don't go her way. Fong Tong Tong looked at Shenjilia. But this was the truth, wasn't it? Yes, that was the truth. That's the kind of person Qian is. She likes to make a mountain out of a molehill. The only reason she's treating you like this now is because she doesn't love you enough. Otherwise, why wouldn't she listen to your explanation? Chapter 1763. Fong Tong Tong's words were harsh and hurtful. When the people in the ward heard that, they couldn't help but look at each other. Finally, their gazes fell on Shenjilia. Shenjilia's face, which was already dark to begin with, darkened. For a long time, Shenjilia had always given people the impression of a warm spring breeze. He was an outstanding man who relied on his own strength to sit in this position at such a young age. Shenjilia was not only capable, but he also had an enviable temper. Everyone there was the same. They had never seen Shenjilia with such an expression. "What business is it of yours?" Shenjilia looked at Fong Tong Tong coldly. "I know how my own woman treats me." There was not the slightest warmth in his gaze. Fong Tong Tong was a little frightened by Shenjilia's behavior. She mumbled, "How can it have nothing to do with me? Yi Qian is my best friend. She can slap you indiscriminately now, but what about next time? Have you thought about what will happen next time? Yi Qian has always been this unruly and willful. She doesn't care about other people's feelings at all. You heard what she said just now. It's obvious that she misunderstood us, but she didn't even listen to our explanation. Aren't you angry at all? Yi Qianqian looked at Shen Jielie. Feng Tong Tong, Shen Jielie interrupted her and said coldly. You claim that Yi Qianqian is your bestie, but based on what I know, a bestie is equivalent to a brother in a man's circle. When Feng Tong Tong heard that, she didn't know what he was trying to say. She looked at Shen Jielie and didn't know what to do. To be honest, if my brother talked bad about me in front of my girlfriend like this, I wouldn't hesitate to break up with him. Feng Tong Tong was shocked and tried to defend herself. But I'm telling the truth. The truth? Shen Jilie's expression darkened even further. Yi Qianqian treats you with all her heart. What about you? You're telling her boyfriend the truth? Old Shen, I'm doing this for your own good. Feng Tong Tong's voice sounded much weaker than before. That's enough. Shen Jielie smiled, but there was an indescribable sarcasm in his smile. It's all my fault. Shen Jielie. Feng Tong Tong was at a loss. You should leave. I don't think there's anything left to say between us. Shen Jielie looked away and looked at the wound that he had just bandaged. I don't think Qianqian needs a bestie like you anymore. Feng Tong Tong subconsciously recalled Yi Qianqian's near breakdown state earlier. At the same time, she also recalled what Yi Qianqian had said to her the night before. Best friend. The hospital's underground parking lot was huge. It was so huge that it took Yi Qianqian more than 10 minutes to walk out of the hospital. The people who came and went seemed to have witnessed the farce just now, and there might be people who recognized her, so they took a few more glances at her. The sun was scorching, and Yi Qianqian's entire body trembled unconsciously. Even her eyes felt like they were being ironed. Layers of scorching heat rose up, stirring up a dense mist. Yi Qianqian's vision was blurry. She lowered her head and walked aimlessly like a loser. Yi Qianqian would never have imagined that her best friend and her boyfriend would end up together. Chapter 1764. Yi Qianqian walked to the side of the road in a daze and looked for a taxi. When she got in the taxi, the driver glanced at her and asked, "Where to?" To where? Yi Qianqian didn't know either. Go home? No, she didn't want to go home. When she thought about how Feng Tong Tong had intruded into the happy nest she thought she had with Shen Jielie, she couldn't help but feel disgusted. Her best friend had become a mistress. How could she encounter such a melodramatic thing? Yi Qianqian's lips twitched and she asked, "Do you know any fun places around here? It's not a stupid place to go alone." The driver could tell that Yi Qianqian was in a bad mood and asked, "Are you in a bad mood?" "Yeah." "Did you quarrel with your boyfriend?" "We broke up." "Of course I have to eat alone when I'm heartbroken." "Have you eaten?" "No." Yi Qianqian pursed her lips and touched her stomach. "I'm really hungry." "Do you know where to go now?" "I don't know." Yi Qianqian pursed her lips, and she couldn't hold back her tears. That B** starred usually cooks. The driver was speechless. When he saw her like this, he sighed and said, "I'll take you to a good place. My wife likes to eat desserts there. I heard it's delicious there." "Yeah." Yi Qianqian nodded with tears in her eyes. "Thank you, sir." The driver looked at her sympathetically through the rear-view mirror and quickly started the car. The driver sent Yi Qianqian to a famous high-end shopping mall in the city. Yi Qianqian followed the driver's instructions and walked over. There was a dessert shop at the bottom of the shopping mall. The decoration looked very elegant. After Yi Qianqian walked in, she randomly ordered a few desserts. Looking around, she saw that the people around her were either couples or families. Yi Qianqian sat alone on a chair and looked at the empty seat across from her. She felt stupid. Her red eyes were burning, and she couldn't hold back her tears. The restaurant was very quiet. Yi Qianqian lowered her head and covered her mouth. She leaned against the table, and her shoulders trembled slightly. She bit her lower lip hard to prevent herself from crying. No one noticed her. When the waitress served the dessert, she noticed Yi Qianqian's trembling shoulders and thoughtfully placed the dish on the table. She gently knocked on the table and softly said, "Eat it while it's hot. It won't taste as good when it's cold." Yi Qianqian raised her head slightly and glanced at the exquisite dishes in front of her. She sniffed and reached out to pull them over. "Thank you." His voice was low and choked with sobs. The waiter smiled and quickly left. But when he returned, He was holding a small toy in his hand. It was a small doll in the classic Super Mario style, small and cute. The waiter pressed a button, and then the Super Mario ringtone sounded. It was cute and funny. With tears in her eyes, Yi Qianqian raised her head and glanced at the waitress. The waiter's eyes curved slightly as he said, "It's for you." "Thank you." Yi Qianqian pressed the button a few times. The ringtone sounded again and again. It was very cute. After Yi Qianqian finished her meal, the waiter even gave her a discount when she paid the bill. Yi Qianqian found it a little amusing. She didn't know that she could get such an advantage by eating alone. Walking out of the mall, the sun was even brighter. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.